Good morning. Am I visible and audible? Good morning, Purva. Good morning, Stephen. Am I visible and audible? Great. Let others join and I'll start in a moment's time. Good morning, all of you. Good morning, Dikshit, Nancy, Tabassum. Good morning. So let's begin today's session. Um, Yesterday, I gave you an overview of ancient Indian history, the entire history of ancient India. I gave you an overview or a bird's eye view. And then I began with the first chapter, that is prehistoric cultures or Stone Age. We discussed why it is called Stone Age, uh, importance of the Paleolithic period, what are the important aspects as regards the Paleolithic period, the important tools and the sites where these tools have been found. Then we came to the Mesolithic period, the Middle Stone Age. Um, what are the characteristic features of the Mesolithic age? As well as we went to the Neolithic age after that, the New Stone Age. And Gordon Childe, one of the British historians, called the Neolithic age as Neolithic Revolution. Pranit, this is my first class. Is anything I missed from the syllabus? Yeah, I gave you an overview of ancient Indian history yesterday, history of ancient India, and I began with the first chapter. I'm yet to finish the first chapter. One small portion is remaining, and then I go to the second chapter. So what you do is please go through the PPTs and go back and read your textbook. You'll be able to understand. And also you can hear the recorded lecture. Right. Can we begin today? Today's session from where we left off yesterday? Yeah. Good morning, all of you. So let me start off from where we left off yesterday. I discussed about the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic periods. We directly go to the Chalcolithic period. Yeah. Pranit asked me Tamil Nadu book can be referred. Definitely, Pranit, you can refer to the Tamil Nadu State Service book. It is pretty well conceived. But then I would suggest go by R.S. Sharma. Go with R.S. Sharma because it is a textbook written by a very standard author and all the extra information is contained in this textbook. Right? Thank you, Sandeep. Let's begin this class. Let me quickly recap whatever I had covered yesterday as regards the first chapter, the Stone Age. Now, why is it called Stone Age? We have seen this. All the tools and instruments or implements made by early man were made of stone, and hence it is known as Stone Age. Now, the Stone Age is divided into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic periods. On what basis have historians and archaeologists divided the Stone Age into three phases? On the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology. On the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology, the Stone Age is divided into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic periods. Paleolithic, as we have seen yesterday, paleo means old and lithic means stone. So it was the old Stone Age. And the early man, the Paleolithic man, looked different from the modern Homo sapiens sapiens. We are all modern Homo sapiens sapiens or modern man, thinking man. Our brain is much more advanced. So the Paleolithic man belonged to a species prior to the Homo sapiens sapien. He lived in caves very near to a river, natural caves very near to a river, because he required water for his sustenance, stone to make tools and implements. Um, and of course, he knew how to kindle a fire, how to make fire, and fire was used to only keep himself warm and protect himself from wild animals. He did not, in other words, cook food on fire. He made crude to specialized tools, from crude to specialized tools through a technique called flaking. Um, and depending upon the availability of food and water, he would go from one place to another place. So basically, he was a hunter and a gatherer. He would hunt wild animals and gather fruits, tubers, berries, seeds, and eat them up. And we have found Paleolithic tools in various parts of the country. Historians and archaeologists have given them names like hand axes, cleavers, choppers, blades and burins, etc. And of course, the most important Paleolithic site is Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh near Bhopal. Um, and of course, one more thing I forgot to mention is the Paleolithic man lived in a time when you had the Ice Age going on. So the Paleolithic period was contemporaneous with the Pleistocene epoch. We've seen that. Then we came to the Mesolithic age, the Middle Stone Age. By the time the Mesolithic age or the Middle Stone Age began, the Ice Age had ended. The Pleistocene epoch had come to an end, and the Holocene epoch had begun. So the climate on this earth was much comfortable. You have new plants and animals. That resulted in the Mesolithic man being able to thrive. He was able to thrive in this new warmer environment. Now, how was his lifestyle compared to that of the Paleolithic man? Mesolithic man continued to be a hunter and a gatherer. He continued to be a hunter and a gatherer, but towards the end of the Mesolithic period, on a small scale, he took to settled agriculture. He began to grow wild varieties of crops. And also on a small scale, he began animal domestication. So you have the birth of small settlements. Since he was staying in one place and he had to do agriculture, we have the birth of small settlements. We also notice artificial houses, that is human-made, man-made houses. So evidence is there. We have through paintings, we come to know that the Mesolithic man engaged in wars, intertribal conflicts, and he began to make pots on the with the help of handmade pottery. So these are the main aspects about Mesolithic age, and he used small tools. He had improved his tools and instruments. So the most important tool he used are called microliths. Micro means very small stone tools. Then we came to the Neolithic age, the New Stone Age, and this is also known as Neolithic Revolution, according to Gordon Child. What did man totally do different during this period? He began to engage in agriculture on a large scale. Generally, agriculture was performed or done on the banks of rivers, right? So agriculture was done on the banks of rivers. Already there was a fertile soil available, plenty of water was there. So he engaged in agriculture on the banks of rivers, and he was able to generate a surplus. And this surplus food, which he cultivated, was stored in pots. So during the Neolithic period, man began to make pots on the wheel, right? He began to make pots on the wheel. And now the immediate necessity of searching for food was taken care of. He had cultivated food grains and he had stored them in those pots. So he didn't have to go in search of food. Most of the time earlier in the Paleolithic and the Mesolithic periods were spent in searching for food. Now that was taken care of. So he began to engage in cultural pursuits. He built better houses. He cultivated cotton, and he began to drape a cotton cloth. Right? He discovered minerals under the earth, and he began to use them. And early trade routes or incipient trade routes came into existence. Since food was available in plenty, more mouths could be fed. As a result, population increased. So tribal communities were transformed to hamlets. Hamlets grew into villages. Villages grew into towns and cities. And civilizations came into existence. Therefore, The Neolithic period is called Neolithic Revolution by this British historian called Gordon Child. Now, even in the Neolithic period, he continued to use stone tools and instruments, but he began to polish them. So they were much more finer, sharper, and much more effective tools and instruments compared to the previous periods. Right? This is the Neolithic period. I've stopped here. Can I continue? How many questions can we expect to come from in prelims from ancient history? Sham, you know, another name for UPSC is unpredictable public service examination. We don't know. I'll not be able to answer that question. There could be more questions from ancient India. Usually, you know, earlier what students used to do is they used to focus on modern Indian history and neglect ancient and medieval, thinking that since most of the questions come from modern India, that had been the trend. But the last few years we have seen UPSC is asking equal number of questions from ancient and medieval and art and culture section, and less questions from modern India. So I would suggest read the entire history, go through the entire syllabus once for all the subjects, not just history, for all the subjects. And then later you'll be able to pick and choose. You yourself will come to know as the exam approaches as to what are the areas you should focus on. And still, in case there is a surprise question, one or two questions surprisingly asked by the UPSC, you should still be able to answer it because you've gone through the entire syllabus. After all, in the mains, all questions are compulsory. You don't have choice in the mains exam, right? So this is one exam divided into three parts. So don't compartmentalize your preparation. I'll separately study for prelims, then mains, then interview. It is an integrated preparation which you should do, isn't it? Yeah. So please keep that in mind. Shyam, I told you Paleolithic man might have used bone and tools made of wood and bone, but they have unfortunately not survived. Right. So let me continue from where I left off yesterday. Chalcolithic period. Now we have discussed Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. Let us come to the Chalcolithic period. Um, now the Chalcolithic period is also called Stone Copper Age. Copper was the first metal to be used by man along with stone. So the Chalcolithic period is called Stone Copper Age, and sometimes it is also called the E-Neolithic period. E-Neolithic period. It's also called the E-Neolithic period, right? Now, how was man's life during the Chalcolithic period? He was living in rural areas. Obviously, he was living in rural settlements on the banks of rivers. And he continued to make microliths and even stone and copper tools. So apart from stone tools, he began to make copper tools, and he was living on the banks of rivers, right? And also he used microliths. Now there are two important aspects you need to remember as regards the Chalcolithic age. First is man began to paint the pots for the first time during this period. So man began to paint the pots, paint pots. Now we have seen this. When did man begin to make pots with handmade pottery? Mesolithic period, isn't it? Um, so he was able to make pots with the hand or handmade pottery during the Mesolithic period. Wheel-turned pottery, he made it in the Neolithic period. But he used to never paint the pots. He began to paint the pots for the first time during the Chalcolithic period. This is very, very important and unique to Chalcolithic period. So man began to paint the pots which he was using. That is number one. Number two is, and very interestingly, what we have seen, what archaeologists have noticed is that when people died in the Chalcolithic period, they were buried in a particular direction. The head is mostly pointing towards the north. So imagine this is a grave. So this is a grave, and a person has died, and the body is placed on its back like this. The body is placed on its back, and the head is inevitably pointing towards the north. And what we see is we have found graves in various Chalcolithic sites, and in all those graves, for some inexplicable reason, we are not able to explain that. What is the reason for this? The head is mostly pointing towards the north, the head of the dead person. And this practice, which was begun in the Chalcolithic period, was continued down the generations. Even now, among the Hindus, most of the Hindus, whoever bury their dead, that the head is mostly pointing towards the north. So this is a practice begun from the Chalcolithic period. Many explanations have come later as to what could be the reason for that. But then, why the Chalcolithic people buried their dead like this with the head mostly pointing towards the north is very, very inexplicable. Even the Harappans had this practice where, when we have seen graves, wherever Harappan graves have been found, um, the head is mostly pointing towards the north, sometimes towards the east, and sometimes towards the west, but very, very rarely towards the south. Very rarely. Only one place, I think Kalibangan, we have found the dead body facing the south, facing the south at Kalibangan. Otherwise, mostly it is pointing towards the north or towards the east or the west. East and west is also rare. Mostly it is towards the north. So this is a very unique aspect regarding the Chalcolithic age, right? So people founded rural settlements living on the banks of rivers. They used microliths along with copper and stone tools. The dead were buried all over a particular place with the head mostly pointing towards the north. They began to paint the pots, right? So this is the main aspect about Chalcolithic period. And what we notice is in the south, in South India, the Neolithic phase smoothly or imperceptibly or smoothly merged with the Chalcolithic age. That's why they are called Neolithic Chalcolithic. And one more aspect is, Chalcolithic man did not practice cultivation. He did not practice cultivation because in none of the Chalcolithic sites we have found a plow or a hoe. What's a hoe? A digging stick. A digging stick. So neither a plow nor a hoe has been found in any of the Chalcolithic sites. So what type of an economy did he have? He had probably a hunting and a fishing economy. Hunting and a fishing economy. So this is the type of economy the Chalcolithic man might have had, because in none of the Chalcolithic sites we do not have evidence of plow or a hoe. So these are the main aspects about Chalcolithic period. Are you there with me? Which period man is buried with dogs? Yeah, that practice we see Divyani in Kashmir in the Neolithic period. We have seen at Burzohom, a man has been buried along with his dog, right? Was IVC in the Chalcolithic? Yeah, Garvit. Yeah, it developed from the Chalcolithic period onwards, and slowly it evolved into the full-blown Harappan civilization. We'll come to that, Garvit. Just hold on, right? Can I move on? Are you clear? So these are the unique aspects about Chalcolithic period. Three things you need to remember. Three or four things. One is man was living on the banks of rivers. He continued to make microliths, stone and copper tools. Dead were buried all over a particular place with the head mostly pointing towards the north. Pots came to be painted during this period, and Chalcolithic man mostly practiced hunting and a fishing economy. He did not practice agriculture. We have no evidence till now of he having practiced agriculture, right? Sham, why they are not practice agriculture? Even they found copper tools. Um, so th- Probably it was not necessary for them to practice agriculture. They might have satisfied themselves with a hunting and a fishing economy that might have satisfied their food needs. So it takes a lot of effort to engage in agriculture. Unfortunately, till now we have not found any evidence of the Chalcolithic people having engaged in agriculture, right? So these are the tools, as you can see on your screen. These are the Chalcolithic tools, stone copper tools used by Chalcolithic man. And we have found some places where we have Chalcolithic cultures. Chalcolithic cultures have been found. Please understand, in archaeology, there's a tradition or a fashion. What is a tradition or fashion? Wherever a culture or a civilization is first discovered, it is named after that type site. It is named after that type site. So we have a place called Ahar in Rajasthan. We have a place called Ahar in Rajasthan. And this culture, Ahar culture, was first discovered at this site called Ahar in Rajasthan. And what are the important, and that's why it is named as Ahar culture. This is one of the Chalcolithic cultures. And what are the important sites pertaining to this culture? Gilund, Balatal, Tambavati. Gilund, Balatal, Tambavati, these are the important settlements or sites pertaining to this culture. And the Chalcolithic people of Ahar culture used the Khetri mines of Rajasthan for their copper. So they procured copper from the Khetri mines of Rajasthan. Even the Harappans used to procure copper from the Khetri mines of Rajasthan. So this is one important culture, Chalcolithic culture, found in Rajasthan. Remember the sites also pertaining to this culture, Gilund, Balatal, Tambavati. Then another important Chalcolithic culture is the OCP culture, ochre colored pottery culture, also called copper hoard culture. Understand this, please. So on the banks of the Ganga Yamuna, see, if imagine this is Ganga and this is Yamuna, right? So Ganga and Yamuna. So on the banks of these rivers, we have found copper hoards. So what is the meaning of copper hoard? We have found a lot of copper instruments, mostly pertaining to war and hunting weapons and weapons of war. Hardly any agricultural tools are there found with them, among them. So we have found copper hoards, right? And along with these copper hoards, we have found a distinct pottery which has been painted in ochre color. Ochre is your almost like orangish brick color, brick color. That's called ochre. So along with copper hoards, I can show you the picture. You can see these are the copper hoards on the right of your screen. So you can see spears, daggers, arrowheads, right? Harpoons, anthropomorphic figures. This looks like the figure of a man. So that's called anthropomorphic. Anthropomorphic. So along with these tools, we find some vessels, you know, clay vessels, pots. We have found pots, and these pots are painted in ochre color. They are in ochre color. So therefore, this culture is called ochre colored pottery or OCP culture or copper hoard culture. This has been found on the banks of the Ganga and the Yamuna. Are you there with me? Hello, all of you. Chalcolithic period, roughly, it is about 4,500 to 2,500 BC. That would be the rough phase of the Chalcolithic time, Sham. Specifically about 3,000 to 700 BC. 3,000 to, it's here, 3,000 to 700 BC. But overall time span is about 4,500 to 2,500 BC, right? So we have found copper vessels along with a distinct type of pottery which have been painted in ochre color. That's why it is called OCP culture, ochre colored pottery culture, also called copper hoard culture. Copper hoards. And these are the hoards which have been found. Mostly, but they are hunting weapons, and weapons of war. Weapons of war. So hardly any agricultural tools have been found. Again, suggesting that the people of the Chalcolithic age living on the banks of the Ganga and the Yamuna had a hunting and a fishing economy. They had a hunting and a fishing economy. If they were engaging in agriculture, we would have found agricultural tools along with these weapons of war and hunting weapons, right? So since no agricultural tools have been found, it is presumed that they had a hunting and a fishing economy. Further, another important culture is the Malwa culture. Malwa is a place, as you know, in Madhya Pradesh. So this culture was first discovered at Malwa, hence called Malwa culture. Now, what are the important sites? These Kayata, Navdatoli, Maheshwara in Iran. So important OCP culture sites, we have seen this, Gungeria in Madhya Pradesh, Hastinapur in UP, Jodhpur and Ganeshwar in Rajasthan. So these are the important sites pertaining to the OCP culture. Are you clear till here? Okay. Yeah. Are you clear till here? Good. No audio? Zeba, she wants me to repeat her culture. Okay, Zeba, I said Ahar culture is a Chalcolithic culture found at the site of Ahar in Rajasthan. In archaeology, there's a tradition or a fashion which is followed wherever a culture or a civilization is first discovered. That civilization or culture is named after the type site. That type site. Okay. So Ahar culture was first discovered at a place called Ahar in Rajasthan, and therefore it's called Ahar culture. Therefore, it's called Ahar culture, right? And they procured copper from the K3 mines of Rajasthan, and Gilund, Balatawal, Tambavati are the important sites pertaining to the Ahar culture. Are you there with me? Are you still, is it audible? All clear? Okay. Then OCP culture I have already explained to you. Then we'll go to the next culture, Malwa culture. Malwa culture, as I already told you, found in the state of Madhya Pradesh at a place called Malwa. Important sites are Kayata, Navdotoli, Maheshwara, Iran. What is unique about this culture is we have evidence of Linga worship. What is Linga worship? Male sexual organ, phallus. So we have evidence of worship of phallus, male sexual organ. And Harappans also used to worship male and female sexual organs. We'll come to that later in some time. So we have evidence of phallus worship, linga worship, and also bull worship. Bull worship has been founded at a place called Dhanwada in Telangana area. So even now we worship bulls, we worship snakes. It is as old as our civilization, the worship of bulls, snakes, etc. So this is one. And then lastly, we have another culture called Jorve culture in Maharashtra. Jorve in Maharashtra. This was a culture discovered at the site of Jorve in Maharashtra, hence called Jorve culture. And this is again a Chalcolithic culture. And important sites pertaining to this culture are Jorve, Inamgaon, Chandoli, and Daimabad. Daimabad, in fact, is the southernmost Harappan site. In fact, the people of Daimabad, Harappans, they used to trade with the Harappans, and Daimabad also is the southernmost Harappan site. So these are the important aspects pertaining to the Chalcolithic culture. Right now, let us come to, so you can see here on your map the distribution of the Chalcolithic cultures. Jorve culture in Maharashtra, Ganeshwar Jodhpura culture, this is in Rajasthan. Sorry, Ahar culture is in Rajasthan. Kayata and Malwa culture in Madhya Pradesh. And Ganeshwar Jodhpura culture is OCP culture on the banks of the Ganga Yamuna Doab. Right? Voice is vibrating. Bhavana, nothing is clear. I just hold on. Others are also facing the same problem. Everything is fine. No. Voice is clear. No problem. Okay. Okay. Bhavna, uh, check your audio. There may be some problem from your end, not from our end, because others are able to hear me clearly. Okay. Um, Linga is nothing but the male sexual organ. Male sexual organ is called linga or phallus. And you see, early man was enamored of um, of life, the coming into existence of life. So how does life come into existence? When male and female sexual energies meet, right, and procreate. So that's how it happens, and that's how we all have been born. So they used to worship the male and the female sexual organs as such. So that's the whole thing. Now let us come to the questions. What type of questions could come from this topic? Only one question has till now come from this chapter asked by the UPSC. So let us look at them. So match the following using the codes given below. Cultures are different, then how are they grouped together in Chalcolithic period? Because they shared similar traits, Zeba. They say shared similar traits. They also were using copper along with stone, and they were found in different parts of the country, almost belonging to that wide time span. So that's why they have been grouped as Chalcolithic cultures. Now, let us look at the questions. Match the following using the codes given below. Koldiva. So where is Koldiva? So here, this is the Belen Valley. Burzahom. Burzahom, we looked at Burzahom yesterday. A double burial has been found at Burzahom in Kashmir. People used to live in pits, right? Pit dwellings have been found. So this is in the Himalayan Valley. Mehergarh. Mehergarh is in the Bolan Valley, Mehergarh, and Meherland in the Brahmaputra Valley. So the answer is, of course, 2 here, D here. Answer is D, right? Please launch poll for us to answer. I didn't understand, Zeba. Okay. Which of the following crops were invented by the Neolithic people of India and gifted to the world? So these are just a type of just a reference as to what type of questions can come from this particular topic. So what are the following crops? Which of the following crops were invented by the Neolithic people of India and gifted to the world? So we were able to give them rice and cotton, not wheat, not barley, not betel leaves, definitely rice and cotton. So 3 and 5 is the answer, right? Not wheat, definitely not wheat. We were not the ones who gave them wheat, right? Yeah, rice and cotton. We have seen this. People of Mehergarh were the first to cultivate rice in the world. Yes, but then we were the earliest to cultivate rice and cotton. So that's why that is the answer. Earliest evidence of the domestication of animals comes from which of the following sites? So animals, we have of course Adhamgarh in Madhya Pradesh and not Bhimbetka, Bogor in Rajasthan, that is correct. Burzahom and then Koldiva. So earliest evidence of domestication of animals comes from Adhamgarh in Madhya Pradesh, 1 and Bogor in Rajasthan. 1 and 3 is the answer. Yeah, as I told you, we were the earliest to cultivate rice and cotton, and therefore that is India's gift to the world, right? We were not the first to cultivate wheat, or for that matter, other crops. Rice and cotton, definitely yes. Then consider the following statements. Earliest evidence of wild rice comes from where? Comes from Chopani Mando. That is right. Earliest evidence of cultivated rice came from Koldiva in UP. So both are in UP. That is correct. Which of the statements above are correct? So 1 and 2 are correct. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Correct, Harshita. You are right. But then they were not the earliest to cultivate barley in the world. They were one of the earliest, not the earliest. Right? Then earliest bone tools in the country are excavated at a place called Mucchala Chintamani Gavi, Kurnool district of Andhra Pradesh. Mucchala Chintamani Gavi. This site belongs to the upper Paleolithic period. Okay. Yeah, these are factual in nature. Wherever there has to be analysis, I'll definitely talk about it. The reference is the previous year question papers. Please understand the syllabus, your syllabus, and the previous question papers, previous questions asked by the UPSC. This is the reference point for you. So if we are able to answer, if you're able to answer the previous year questions from whatever material you're reading, then you're going in the right direction. That is the reference point. So don't worry about it. Right? Now let us look at the question asked by UPSC 2021, 2 years back. Historical place well known for Burzuhom, rock cut shrines. Now, what are rock cut shrines? Rock cut temples. Now, Burzuhom, we have seen there were never any rock cut shrines. Rock cut shrines come much later. So we don't have this. This particular match is not correct. Burzuhom, we have found pit dwellings. We have found double burial, but not rock cut shrines. Chandraketugad, terracotta art. Now, please understand, this was in the news in 2020. This particular place called Chandraketugad was in the news, and that's why UPSC asked this question the next year. At Chandraketugad in West Bengal, so this is in West Bengal, Chandraketugad, we have found terracotta hoards. Hoards of terracotta have been found. That is made of clay and fired in the kiln. So baked pottery has been found. Okay, so therefore, this particular match is correct. Ganeshwar copper artifacts. So we have just now seen this copper artifacts. That is, this is Ganeshwar is pertaining to the OCP culture, ochre colored pottery culture. We'll go back and see here. You see this? Ganeshwar. Ganeshwar is a place. Ganeshwar in Rajasthan. This is a site pertaining to the OCP culture, ochre colored pottery culture. So UPSC asked that question. Ganeshwar copper artifacts, right? So now please understand, Purzum had dog and man burial pits. Yeah, that is true. That Deependra Singh, that is right. See, many times, one of the reasons why we encourage students to take tests frequently, take regular tests, MCQs, as well as subjective tests is, many times the question paper itself acts as the first source of information. See, there is a limitation as to how many textbooks or reference books a student can read. You have so many subjects to read, isn't it? History, economy, geography, current affairs, international institutions, ethics, integrity, optional, so many subjects. Nobody reads so many subjects except a UPSC candidate. Now, given that fact, there's a limitation as to how much of information can be covered by a student in one textbook. So you cannot read all the textbooks for that reason because you have other subjects to cover. So one way of making that up is to answer questions. Take mock tests, and when you come across some questions for which you have not read any material, you have read that chapter from one or two books, but then you see that you will not be able to answer that question. So that itself, the question bank itself acts as the primary source of information for you. So you please absorb that and then do some research. Go on Google, try to search for information for pertaining to that question, and you'll get more information. So that is one way of preparing also, right? Because there's a limitation as to how many textbooks a student can read. Okay, so let us go to the next chapter. Am I clear, all of you? Is it fine? Can I move on to the next chapter? Okay. So this is I have completed the first chapter. Let us go to the second chapter. That is the Indus civilization. Overall time span 2500 to 1750 BC. Now I have put a synopsis. I'll be going in this order, and I'll be discussing this chapter in this order. What is culture? What is civilization? What is urban revolution? We will discuss that. Please suggest revision plan. Pratik, we'll come to that. Just hold on. Let me finish. In the break, I'll talk about it. So culture, civilization, urban revolution. We'll discuss this because we are talking about Harappan civilization. So you should know what is civilization, what are the constituents of a civilization, what is culture. We have just done prehistoric cultures or Stone Age. So what is culture? Then what is urban revolution? Then discovery of this civilization, contemporary civilizations which existed along with the Harappan civilization, various nomenclatures various names by which this civilization has been called or addressed. Origin of this civilization. What are the theories? We're not going to go too deep because this is a general studies history paper, not optional. So we will just touch upon it lightly. Origin of this civilization. What are the various theories pertaining to the origin? Extent of this civilization. Important sites like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, Lothal, and important aspects pertaining to these sites. Then characteristic features of this civilization like town planning, right? Polity, what was the political structure of the Harappans, what could have been society, economy. Under economy, we discuss all these things: agriculture, small scale industries, trade and commerce, weights and measures used by the Harappans, religious practices of the Harappans, script of the Harappans, pottery, seals, what are seals, burial practices, various methods of disposal of dead bodies followed by the Harappans. Then decline, how did this civilization decline? Various theories regarding that. Then important sites like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, etc. The difference between Harappan and Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilization, and questions which have appeared from this chapter in the prelims as well as the mains. Right? So this is how I'll be discussing. Period of I will see. I'm coming to that, Deepesh. Just hold on. Now, on your screen, you see a map. This is the this is the Indus civilization, the spread of the Indus civilization or the Harappan civilization. Most of the sites are found in India and Pakistan, and this was the largest of the contemporary civilizations. The Harappan civilization is the third oldest. The oldest is, of course, Mesopotamia in Iraq. We'll come to that. But the largest among the contemporary civilizations was the Harappan civilization. So most of the sites are found on the banks of the Indus. You can see here on your screen, Indus and the Gaggar Hakra. Most of the sites are found on the banks of the Indus and the Gaggar Hakra. And therefore, this civilization is also called Indus civilization. Right? Now, overall time span of the civilization. This is a time span given by R.S. Sharma. So he gives the overall time span of the civilization as 2500 to 1750 BC. 2500 to 1750 BC, overall time span. Now, we have a mature phase here. What is the meaning of mature phase? Mature phase is that phase when the civilization was at its peak, the civilization was at its zenith, and the cities were flourishing. That is a period of 200 years, 2200 to 2000 BC. This is called the mature phase. Okay, mature phase of the Harappan civilization. Then we have come to the post-urban phase. What is this post-urban phase? For various reasons, the Harappans abandoned their cities and towns and went away to rural areas. So that is called post-urban phase, also called sub-Indus culture, late Harappan culture, or Jhangar culture, sometimes also called Jhangar culture. So Harappans abandoned their cities and went away to rural areas for various reasons. We'll discuss that, the decline of the civilization, various theories regarding that. So that phase is called post-urban phase, 1800 to 1200 BC, right? Deepesh Chitri, have I answered your question? Period of IVC, period of the Indus Valley civilization. Abhishek, what is wild rice? See, wild rice is what rice originally was found on this earth. That is wild rice. But a lot of rice has been cultured, isn't it? We have a lot of development of rice. Whatever rice we have is through process of development. So that is called wild rice is that original rice. Overall time span. Are you clear? Fine. Now, metal age, use of metals. So when did man begin to make metals, or rather discover metals and use them? So use of metals began around 4500 BC. Then we have the Chalcolithic period. Stone Copper Age, roughly 4500 to 2500 BC. Stone Copper Age. Then we have a Bronze Age, 2500 to 1750 BC. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. When you mix copper and tin, we get bronze, as you all know. So that is called Bronze Age. And inevitably, when we say Bronze Age, it means people were living in cities. When we say Bronze Age, inevitably people were living in cities. So that is inferred. Bronze Age means people were living in cities. And from 1000 BC onwards, we have use of iron. And even now it continues. Iron Age even now continues. So Stone Copper Age, Chalcolithic period, 4500 to 2500 BC. And the Bronze Age, 2500 to 1750 BC. Right? Don't worry about it, Satyam. Different books have different periods for IVC. So overall time span I've given you. Remember that these 3 dates you remember, that is enough, right? So don't get confused. Don't get confused about these dates. UPSC is not going to ask you about dates. So don't worry about that. Overall time span is this. Now let us talk about culture. What is culture? What is civilization? What is urban revolution? Now, what is culture? Culture is a way of life. Okay, culture is a way of life. And what does it entail? So just remember a tribe. Imagine a tribe in any part of India. Okay, in any part of India, remember a tribe. Maybe a tribe in the northeast, right? Or a tribe in Tamil Nadu, let us say, the Todas, right? Or for that matter, um, some other tribe in northeast India. Um, so what does a tribe do? It lives in a particular environment. Okay, it is used to living in a particular environment, right? So they have habituated to be living in an environment. So the first aspect of culture is habitual environment. They're used to living in a particular environment. They communicate through a medium of language. So there are people living in a tribe in a particular area in the forest, and they communicate through a medium of language. They don't necessarily have a script. They might not have a script, but then they can understand through a language what they're talking to each other, right? So they have a language. They follow certain rituals, common rituals. So their people are living in a habitual environment, right? They are communicating through a language. Then they follow certain common rituals. Everybody is following a common ritual, so they follow certain rituals. There are interpersonal relations amongst the people, right? That is, they have social relations amongst them. Then they use the same type of tools and pots. So tool types and pottery types. They use the same type of tools and pots. And there could be multiple cultures in a small area, in a smaller region. So you can have some people living here with their own distinct culture, another section living here, another section in the forest living here, etc. So there could be multiple cultures in a smaller region. This is called culture. So it includes the use of habitual environment, social relations, language, ritual, tool types, and pottery types. That is culture. We'll come to that. Udayarani, what Harappan, Indus Valley, don't get confused. We'll come to that. Just follow me. Be in the present moment. Don't run your mind. We'll come there. We'll arrive there. Just hold on. Okay. So this is culture. Then what is civilization? Civilization is an advanced form of culture. An advanced type of culture is called civilization. Now, what does civilization entail? People are inevitably living in cities. So you can see here, people are inevitably living in cities. So it's an advanced form of culture. People are living in urban areas. So there are people are living in cities. That is number one. Number two is they have a conscious aesthetic awareness. Now, what is the meaning of this? A conscious aesthetic awareness, that is appreciation of art, beauty, painting, music, dance, etc. So they appreciate all these things: art, beauty, painting, music, dance. So conscious aesthetic awareness. So people are inevitably living in cities. They have a conscious aesthetic awareness. They follow sophisticated religious beliefs. They follow sophisticated religious beliefs. For example, we have the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro. So there was one great bath, something like a pool, not a swimming pool, but it was a pool where it is believed by archaeologists that Harappans used to clean themselves. They might have taken a bath there, or they might have cleaned themselves. And adjoining the great bath, we have small rooms where ablutions, some rituals were performed. What type of rituals were performed, we don't know. So, people follow sophisticated religious beliefs in a civilization. So, that is number three. Number four is they use texts. That is, people are literate. People are literate. Not everybody, but predominantly most of them are literate. They're able to read and write. So, use of texts. Society is unequally divided. That is, high class, low class. So, somebody is richer, somebody is not so rich. So, everybody is not equal. In a tribe, everybody is equal. Economically, everybody is equal in a tribe or in a culture. But in a civilization, you have high class, low class. Economic stratification is there. So society is unequally divided. Then similarity of artifacts. They use the same type of artifacts or whatever tools and instruments they use on a daily basis is similar, right? And lastly, it covers a wider area. It covers a wider area when compared to a culture. This is called civilization. So people inevitably are living in cities. They have a conscious aesthetic awareness. Okay, it covers a wider area. They follow sophisticated religious beliefs. They are literate. They're able to read and write. There is high class, low class. So there is economic stratification in the society, right? So all these things are the constants of a civilization. So are you there with me? Uh, what is the difference between tradition and culture, Sham? See, tradition is part of culture. I would say tradition would be part of culture. The regular practice of a particular ritual or a tradition, like for example, a dance or following certain daily rituals on a daily basis, that is part of the tradition. But then tradition would be part of culture. Culture is a much more encompassing thing than tradition as such, right? So culture, civilization. Um, yeah, Dhyana, sir, will you explain each point? I have explained to you, Dhyana. What is the doubt you have? Wide area covers a wider area. Yeah, Bhavna. The civilization covers a wider area. That is, the civilization is spread over a wider area compared to that of a culture. I told you in culture, there could be multiple kinds of culture in a small region. So I have given you the diagram here. In a small region, you could have multiple cultures, squatters, hunter gatherers living in different parts of the forest. Whereas civilization covers a much more wider area, right, compared to that of a culture. Are you there with me, all of you? Any doubts here? Can I move on? Dhyana, show some pictures. I don't have any pictures to show you. We're the Harappan civilization. I'll come to the pictures. I'll show you in some time. Zeba, can civilization have multiple cultures? Civilization is a much more, I told you, it is a much advanced form of culture is called civilization. So, so that's what it is. Um, what are artifacts? Artifacts are those things which people use on a daily basis, like pots, utensils, etc. Those are called artifact, potteries, etc. Right? Akshata, what is culture? Explain culture in detail. I have already explained to you. Culture, as I told you, it is a way of life. People are living in a habitual environment. They're used to living in a particular environment. They communicate through a medium of language. They follow common rituals. Um, they use the same type of tools and pots, and there could be multiple cultures in a smaller region. That's called culture. Sophisticated religious beliefs. Manpreet, I told you just now, I gave the example of the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro. So you have a sort of a pool in Mohenjo-daro, and around the pool you have rooms. Small rooms are there. I'll show you the picture later in some time. So you have rooms around the Great Bath like this. So it is believed that people used to clean themselves in the pool, and then some rituals were performed in those rooms around the Great Bath. So this is an example of sophisticated religious beliefs, right? Now we'll come back here. Now, what is urban revolution? Now, first of all, we have technological advancement. So, what is technology? If I can ask you, ask the class, what is technology? Is Great Bath for all, Divyani? We don't know whether it was meant for all or only for the some sections of the society. We are not very sure. It was in the citadel area. So, presumably, it was meant for only a minority section, not for everybody. Pottery, different types of pots. Akshata, when I say pottery types, they're using the same types of pots. Okay, there could be different shapes and sizes of those pots, but the people are using the same type of pots. Tool types, same type of tools are used, right? Same type of tools are used. So application of technique is technology, okay? Application of science, innovations in research, anything that eases human work. Rajneesh, that's very good. So in simple language, Dhyana, I'll come to that. Harappans, till now we have not found any temple-like structure. Tool as of advancement, use of science, advanced form of development. Okay, fine. So technology is anything which reduces human effort, right? According to me, anything that reduces human effort is technology. Anything that reduces human effort is technology. So there was technological advancement, even the invention of the wheel for that matter. The invention of the wheel is a technological advancement, isn't it? So that is number one, technological advancement. Metallurgy, people were using metals. So people were using metals, like copper was the first metal to be used by man. So then we have bronze and tin mixed to make copper and tin mixed to make bronze. So tin, copper, bronze, gold, silver, etc. So you have metallurgy, use of metals. Then there is surplus production of food grains. So people are cultivating, they're engaging in agriculture, and whatever is cultivated is stored in pots or stored in a granary. So people have more time for other activities. There's surplus production of food grains, specialization of crafts. Specialization is there. Like, for example, you have a family of carpenters. Um, Father is a carpenter, grandfather was a carpenter, then the son becomes a carpenter, like that. So you have specialization in crafts, blacksmith, goldsmith, carpenter, brickmaker, etc. So specialization of crafts. There's class differentiation, high class, low class. Somebody is richer, somebody is not so richer. Everybody doesn't belong to the same economic stratification. So high class, low class, not caste. There was no concept of caste here, only economic stratification. Economic, right? Then we have state formation. Now you please understand what is the meaning of state formation here. It is believed that the population of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the cities, were about 35 to 40,000 people. Population of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro was about 35 to 40,000 people. So when 35 to 40,000 people are living in a city, you require a governance system in place. You need require a government or a governance system in place. So there was somebody to maintain law and order and to see that everything is running smoothly. So there was the existence of a governance system. So that is called state formation. And invention of writing. Invention of writing is also there. Now I forgot to ask you one question. We go back here. Civilization. Now we have looked at the various aspects of civilization. People are living in cities. There was a conscious aesthetic awareness. People follow sophisticated religious beliefs. They were literate, use of texts, etc. You've seen that. Now, among these 7 points which you see on your screen, which do you think is the most important and why? Which do you think is the most important and why? Can you answer that question? Sakshi, on the basis of economic stratification, some were richer, some were not so richer. Dikshit says text, use of text. Why? You should answer that, Dikshit. Dipender, Udayarani also says text. Komal says text. Use of text for trade purposes. Use of text as knowledge passed on. Urban living, no. Divyani, use of text for knowing their culture. Anita, civilization means people living in cities. So, what to call people who lived in villages? That's what they were living in. That's why they're called culture. They were living in rural areas or in forests. That's why they're called prehistoric cultures. Prehistoric cultures, or culture. Culture is that they were not living in cities. They were living in villages or in the forests. Okay, so here are some. The most important aspect is use of text. See, use of text is the most important here with respect to civilization. A civilization might have all the aspects, but if they have no knowledge of writing, they were not. If they are not literate, then you call them uncivilized. So a civilization minus the use of text is known as uncivilized. So use of text is the most important point in this civilization. Yeah, right. So that is the reason. Right. So here we'll let us move on. Urban revolution. Urban revolution is when all these things come together: technological advancement, metallurgy, surplus production, specialization, class differentiation, state formation, and invention of writing. When all these things come together, we have civilizations happening, civilizations coming into existence. Um, Akshata, you can, sorry, is it necessary to take running notes? See, I have tried to cover as broadly as possible in the PPT. You can just sit back and relax and read up the PPTs and then underline the key points. And whatever extra I need to tell you, I'll definitely tell you. This is also to save my time, right? Short notes. You can make points. Like for example, if this is a page, this is a page. You can make a margin here. You can write extra points here, whatever notes or whatever things I'm telling you in the class, you can write here. And this space, when you read your textbook, the left of your page, this space you can add from the textbooks. When you're reading textbooks, some points I might have missed, you might find them very important or relevant, you can add them here. So that becomes easy. You have everything in one document as such. What was the most important element of civilization, Garvit? I said text, use of textbook. Use of text, that is, people had knowledge of writing. That's the main thing. Without knowledge of literacy, we cannot call a civilization as civilized. Right. Now let us come back here. So here, the Harappan civilization or the Indus civilization. As you know, this civilization was spread over the present regions of India and Pakistan. It was spread over the present regions of India and Pakistan. And the Harappan civilization ranks amongst the 4 contemporary civilizations of the world. Which is the oldest civilization? The Mesopotamian civilization. Mesopotamian civilization is the oldest, on the banks of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. On the banks of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. This is the oldest civilization. The second oldest is the Egyptian civilization on the banks of the Nile in Africa. On the banks of the Nile. The third oldest is the Indus civilization on the banks of the Indus. and the Gaggar Hakra. And the fourth is a Chinese civilization on the banks of the Huanghe or Huanghe River. So the Harappan civilization or the Indus civilization ranks amongst the four contemporary civilizations of the world. But then this is the third oldest. The Harappan civilization was the third oldest civilization. It was the third oldest civilization. But when you compare all the four, it is the largest. It was the largest of the contemporary civilization, spread over an area of 1.3 million square kilometers. Spread over an area of 1.3 million square kilometers. Right? Now, throughout this area of 1.3 million square kilometers, what do we notice? We notice uniformity. We notice uniformity in certain aspects. Like, for example, the way the cities were designed, or planned, city planning, the way the cities were planned, right? We see the same type of religious practices, uniformity in religious practices. We see the same size of bricks. The size of bricks is the same. 4:2:1 in ratio. That was the size of the bricks. 4:2:1 in ratio. 4:2:1 in ratio. Then, of course, weights and measures. The types of weights and measures. So uniformity is seen in all these areas: city planning, religious practices, bricks, weights and measures, etc. Now we come to know a lot about this civilization's trade. We come to know about trade, about their architecture, art, religious practices, etc. Right? So third oldest, but the largest amongst the contemporary civilizations. Now, the largest Harappan site is supposedly Rakhigarhi. As of now, Rakhigarhi in Haryana is the largest Harappan site. Now, please understand, Rakhigarhi in Haryana, earlier it was thought that Mohenjo-daro is the largest site. Your R.S. Sharma book also gives Mohenjo-daro as the largest Harappan site. But recently, the opinion has been revised because it has been found that Rakhigarhi is much bigger than it was thought so. So if imagine this is Rakhigarhi, this was the site of Rakhigarhi. Next to Rakhigarhi, mounds were found. Mound is a raised portion of the earth like this. So when these mounds were dug up, they found that Rakhigarhi was much bigger than what it was thought to be so. So the biggest Harappan site as of now is Rakhigarhi. Next comes Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro is the second biggest now, right? And the oldest Harappan site is Birrana. Birrana in again Haryana. It is older than Mehergarh. Mehergarh is a Neolithic site and also a Harappan site. But then Mehergarh is 7000 BC, 7000 BCE, whereas Birrana is a little bit older, 7500 BCE. So Birrana is now the oldest Harappan site as such. I'm coming to that, Musharraf, just hold on. Why contemporary? Why contemporary is that these civilizations, that is Mesopotamian civilization, the Egyptian civilization, then the Indus civilization, and Chinese civilizations, they were existing uh, at the same time. That's why it's called contemporary civilization. Rakhigarhi was discovered earlier, Subhankar, but it was excavated. Excavations are going on. The latest round of excavations was between 1997 and 2000. The latest Harappan site to be discovered is Dholavira. Dholavira is the latest Harappan site to be discovered in 1991. Rakhigarhi was discovered much earlier, but then um, when subsequent excavations were done around it, it was found to be much bigger than that. Which site is oldest? I told you Birana. Birana in Haryana is supposed to be the oldest Harappan site, and the largest is Rakhigarhi, again in Haryana. Birana is the oldest. So we'll come back here. So we come to know a lot about the civilizations, architecture, art, technology, trade, transportation, writing, religion, etc. Rakhigarhi in Haryana is the largest Harappan site, and Birana in Haryana again is the largest, is the oldest Harappan site. Now, very interestingly, how was this civilization discovered? How was this civilization discovered? Anybody here? How was this civilization discovered? Is the speed okay? Am I talking too fast? Is the speed okay? Okay. While laying railway tracks. Okay, Garvit, right. Sejal, thank you. Musarraf, Nancy. Okay, now look here. You're right. Please a bit slower. Okay, Komal. Now look here. Manpreet, a little bit. Okay, I'll go a little slower. Two brothers, Saurav. Now look here. By 1850, the British were the masters of this country, isn't it? By 1850, the British had conquered the whole of India. And 100 years earlier, that is around 1750, we have the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in England. Industrial Revolution had begun in England. England had become the workshop of the world. New machines had been invented in England, and England had a powerful navy and a merchant marine, and she had colonies all over the world. So England used to procure raw materials from these colonies. So they would be brought on ships to England, and the raw materials will be converted into finished products and resold in the colonies and in other parts of the world. For example, raw cotton would be brought to England, raw jute would be brought to England, and in those factories, raw cotton, raw jute, etc., would be converted into finished products and resold in the colonies and in other parts of the world. Now, by 1850, the British had become the masters of India. They had defeated all the major powers. Like, for example, they conquered Bengal. Then they defeated the French in the Carnatic Wars. They had conquered Mysore when they defeated and killed Tipu in 1799. They defeated the Marathas in 1818. Then 1849, they defeated even they conquered even Punjab, right? So by 1850, they were the masters of this country. And the British had come to trade, as you all know, they had come to trade. The company had been established. And once they became the masters of this country, the British wanted to exploit this country better to the maximum possible extent. So what they began to do is they began to lay roads and railway lines throughout the length and breadth of this country. Why did they begin to lay roads and railway lines? So that they can procure raw materials from the nook and corners of India and sell the finished products in those areas. So therefore, they wanted a good road network and a railway network. And one such railway line was being constructed in the northwest portions of India. Now what is called Pakistan. There was no Pakistan during those days. So in the northwest portions of India, a railway line was being constructed. And leveling work was going on. The leveling of the land. To lay railway line, you need to level the land. So digging work was going on. And you had mounds like this. A raised portion of the earth is called a mound. A raised portion of the earth is called a mound, as you know. So when digging work was going on or leveling work was going on, we have a British soldier and also a member of the East India Company. So he was a soldier and also a part-time historian archaeologist. You can call him that. His name was Charles Mason. So he was Charles Mason, as early as 1826. He was in charge of the supervision of the railway track being laid there. And Charles Mason, when the digging work was going on, was astonished to notice certain things. He noticed terracotta objects. Terracotta objects. What is terracotta? Made of clay and baked in the kiln or fired in the kiln. So that it becomes hard and strong. So he noticed terracotta objects. Something has been written on them. So he was not able to understand. We are also not able to understand because even now the script remains undeciphered. He noticed seals. What are Harappan seals? We'll come to that later. So he noticed seals, he noticed terracotta objects, he noticed bricks, burned bricks, right, underneath those mounds. And Charles Mason noted down that in his diary. This was as early as 1826, right? In fact, he was the first to notice all these at Harappa. So this he noticed at a place called Harappa. And then we have an archaeologist, Alexander Cunningham. His name was Alexander Cunningham. Alexander Cunningham visited the site of Harappa in the 19th century, sometime in 1853. He visited Harappa. 1856, he also visited Harappa. And he noticed the same things. He was a trained archaeologist, so he was able to know what he was seeing, the value of those things which he saw. So he noticed seals, terracotta objects, burned bricks, etc. And he was pretty fascinated about it, right? So Alexander Cunningham visited that place. Then we have the Department of Archaeology established by the British. In fact, Alexander Cunningham, in 1865, the Department of Archaeology was abolished. It was wound up, actually. Department of Archaeology was wound up. And in 1870, the British again recreated this department under the leadership of Alexander Cunningham. In fact, Alexander Cunningham was made the Director General of the Archaeological Department. Now it is called the ASI, Archaeological Survey of India. Right? So the Department of Archaeology was re-established was cancelled in 1865 or wound up in 1865 and then recreated in 1870 with Alexander Cunningham as its Director General. So once he saw all these things, terracotta objects, seals, bricks, etc., the word spread rapidly amongst the historians and the archaeologists that there is something very important in this area. Some civilization might have existed in this area. Some people might have existed in bygone era in this area. And finally, in 1924, we have John Marshall. He was the head of the archaeological department, DG, Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India. He ordered extensive excavations. And he took over that particular position a few years back. And in 1921 was discovered Harappa. Harappa was discovered by Dayaram Sahani, D.R. Sahani. Dayaram Sahani discovered Harappa. And 1922, Mohenjo-daro was discovered by R.D. Banerjee, Rakhaldas Banerjee, R.D. Banerjee. And in a London weekly called the Illustrated Times, in 1924, the name of that magazine was Illustrated Times. In this particular magazine, Sir John Marshall announced the discovery of this civilization to the world. And he was the one who called this civilization as Indus Valley Civilization. John Marshall was the one who gave the name Indus Valley Civilization to this particular civilization. So this was a chance discovery. Please understand, this civilization was discovered by chance. And then the British did not believe when they saw this civilization, when excavations happened at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, etc., they could not believe that such an advanced civilization could exist amongst the ancestors of the Indians over whom they were ruling now. The British were ruling over us and they considered us to be inferior. But when they saw that such an advanced civilization existed amongst the ancestors of the Indians, many of the British historians were not ready to believe it. In fact, they came out with the theory that it was implanted from outside. Somebody from outside came and implanted this civilization here because they could not believe that we Indians, the ancestors of Indians, could have such an advanced civilization. So this is a very fascinating discovery which happened during the British period in the early part of the 20th century. Are you there with me? Okay, Garvit, I'll keep that in mind. Mound and sand dune different. Sand is more, the dune is a sand, made of sand, whereas this is mud, a mixture of mud and maybe sand also. But mound is a raised portion of the earth. It could be a sand dune, it could be made of mud. So you can see on your screen, this is how the civilization was discovered. Charles Mason, he was the first to discover the ruins of Harappa. Alexander Cunningham visited the site of Harappa in the middle of the 19th century. I told you sometime in 1853. He visited that in 1853 and 1856, right? Then we have the Department of Archaeology, which was recreated as a government department with Alexander Cunningham as a director general, as the first director general. And in 1924, so John Marshall announced the discovery of this civilization in this weekly called the Illustrated London Times. This was the name of the weekly magazine. And he was the first scholar to call it as Indus civilization, or he called it as Indus Valley civilization, right? Rakhal Das Banerjee, Komal R.D. Banerjee. Full name is not necessary. Rakhal Das Banerjee, that was his name. R.D. ASI, Archaeological Survey of India. Sunil. ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India. Everything is not important. Every date is not important. This is, this is how it was discovered. I was just telling you. So just know that it was a chance discovery, which happened during the British period. I'm just narrating the sequence of events, how it happened, right? So on your screen, you can see here, this is the picture of Sir Alexander Cunningham. And we have a historian called Amananda Ghosh, A. Ghosh. Amananda Ghosh, very interestingly, he tells us, generally it is believed that Harappa was excavated by Dayaram Sahani, right? We all know that 1921, Harappa was excavated by Dayaram Sahani. But then Amananda Ghosh, A. Ghosh, tells us that it was Sir Alexander Cunningham who first discovered Harappa, but he did not understand its historical value. Right? Very interestingly, in his Encyclopedia of Indian Archaeology, a book called An Encyclopedia of Indian Archaeology, he notes this. He says he was the first to excavate Harappa, but failed to notice its cultural or historical significance. And Alexander Cunningham is also the person who identified Bairat in Rajasthan, Kaushambi, Nalanda, Shravasti, etc. Right. Now we'll come back here. The Harappan civilization ranks amongst the 4 contemporary civilizations of the world. And so you can see here, these are the contemporary civilizations on your screen. We have the oldest civilization, that is the Mesopotamian civilization. Oldest civilization is the Mesopotamian civilization. Where is Mesopotamian civilization? Modern Iraq. In the region of modern Iraq, we had this civilization called the Mesopotamian civilization. And please understand, all these civilizations were river valley based civilizations. River valley based civilizations. So agriculture was engaged on the banks of rivers, right? So on the banks of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers in Mesopotamia, a civilization arose that is called the Mesopotamian civilization or the Sumerian civilization. This is the oldest of the civilizations. This is the oldest, right? Oldest of the contemporary civilizations. Then we come to the Egyptian civilization. In Africa, we had the Egyptian civilization on the banks of the Nile River. So this is the second oldest. Second oldest. The third oldest is the Harappan civilization. The third oldest is the Harappan civilization. And the fourth civilization was the Chinese civilization on the banks of the Huanghe River. Huanghe is called the sorrow of China. The sorrow of China. We had floods till recently there, devastating floods, but then the government of China has harnessed that river and from that river, there are no more problems occurring. But the Chinese civilization was born on the banks of the Wang Ho. So these are the four contemporary civilizations. Uh, Harappan civilization was the third oldest, right? Till now, we have no evidence as regards the contacts of the Harappans with the Chinese or the Egyptians. Whether the Harappans had contacts with the Chinese or the Egyptians, we have no evidence till now. But we definitely know that Harappans had cultural and trade contacts with the Mesopotamians. Harappans had cultural as well as trade contacts with the Mesopotamians. We definitely know about that. Archaeology as well as literary evidence is there regarding that. We'll discuss that in course of time. So these are the various contemporary civilizations. How archaeologists know about the age of the civilization? There are various, you have artifacts which have been found, which are found. So they calculate the age of that artifact, and through that they could come to know. Coupled with that, we have Harappan civilization having contact with Mesopotamian civilization. So that is also another way through which we come to know that these two civilizations existed parallelly. Because Sandeep, why civilizations situated near the rivers only? Because they required water for their sustenance. Agriculture was engaged on the banks of rivers, and they required water for their sustenance, and therefore these were all river valley based civilizations. Carbon dating, other techniques are there. So dendrochronology is one more. Tree ring dating. Um, you know. Thermoluminescence. So many techniques are there, and through that we are able to find out how old a particular artifact or a civilization was. Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. It was a much more advanced civilization, Sham. Mesopotamian civilization was a much more advanced civilization. It was the earliest civilization, and when compared to the Harappan civilization, at least 1,000 years old compared to the Harappan civilization. Now, we have various nomenclatures as to how this civilization is known or addressed. Now, look here. Very simple. This civilization. Initially, the Harappan civilization was called Indus Valley Civilization. Initially, it was called Indus Valley Civilization. In fact, this was the name given by John Marshall. John Marshall was the one who called this as the Indus Valley Civilization. Now, why was it called Indus Valley Civilization? Because all the sites pertaining to the civilization were found in the Indus Valley. All the sites pertaining to the civilization were found in the Indus Valley, like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Chanhu-daro, Judair-Jodaro, Lohom-Jodaro, etc. So all these sites pertaining to the civilization were found in the Indus Valley. Hence the name Indus Valley Civilization, as given by John Marshall. Later, the name was revised. It was also called Harappan Civilization. Now, why was it called Harappan Civilization? Because, as I told you, in archaeology, there's a tradition or a fashion. Wherever a civilization or a culture is first discovered, that culture or civilization is named after the type site. So Harappa was the first type site, right? It was the first type site where this civilization was first discovered, and therefore called Harappan civilization, right? So therefore, this is right. It is called Harappan civilization. Now, it is also called Indus civilization. Understand this. It is also called Indus civilization. Now, why is it called Indus civilization instead of Indus Valley civilization? Because we have sites found later farther away from the Indus Valley, farther away as far as Lothal in Gujarat, Daimabad in Maharashtra, Alamgirpur in UP, etc. These sites like Lothal, Daimabad, Alamgirpur are not in the Indus Valley. They are far away from the Indus Valley. Therefore, the name Indus civilization, right? Fourth, it is also called proto-historic civilization. Proto-historic civilization. Now, yesterday you go back to what is proto-history. What is history? All those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood is history, right? What is prehistory? We do not have any written sources or evidence for the reconstruction of that period of history. We rely on archaeology for that period of history. And what is proto-history? We had written records, but we cannot read them. That is proto-history. So that part of history where we have written sources, but we cannot read them. It is still unintelligible. It has not yet been deciphered. So Harappans had a script. We all know that, but we are not able to read that script even now. Therefore, this civilization comes under the category of proto-historic civilization. So it's also called proto-historic civilization for that reason, and it is also called Bronze Age civilization. Bronze Age civilization. So Harappans had developed alloy technology. So they knew how to mix copper and tin and make bronze. When you mix copper and tin, you get bronze. Therefore, it's also called Bronze Age civilization, right? Undeciphered is we are not able to read, decode. Another word is decode, depender. Like, for example, we know this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. Harappan script looks very different. We are not able to read that or decode that. Okay. So these are the various nomenclatures. Are you there with me? Please raise your hands. Any doubts here? Can I continue? There's a big chapter, so clear? Okay. So what is the right way to address this civilization? You can call it as Harappan civilization or Indus civilization. It is also called proto-historic civilization, Bronze Age civilization. But technically, to call it as Indus Valley civilization would be wrong. Technically, but it is used carelessly. It doesn't matter. But technically, to call it as Indus Valley civilization is no more correct, because the sites are not just confined to the Indus Valley. They have been found outside the Indus Valley also. Subankar, why Indus civilization? Because most of the sites were found on the banks of the Indus River. Pranit, please discuss again what you have written. Okay, I told you, Pranit, we have various nomenclatures as regards how this civilization is addressed. Initially called Indus Valley civilization because almost all the sites initially were found in the Indus Valley, hence called Indus Valley civilization. Like, for example, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Juder-Jodaro, Lohom-Jodaro, Chanhu-daro, etc. Then sites were found further away from the Indus Valley, as far as Gujarat, Rajasthan, UP, etc. Therefore, we call it as Indus civilization. It is also called Harappan civilization because Harappa is the first type site. Wherever a culture or a civilization is first discovered, that civilization or culture is named after that type site. So it was discovered at Harappa, this civilization, and therefore it is also called Harappan civilization. Proto-historic civilization because Harappans knew how to read and write, but we are not able to read their script. Therefore, it comes under the category of proto-history, proto-historic civilization. Therefore, it is called that. And Bronze Age civilization because they had developed alloy technology. They knew how to mix copper and tin and make bronze. Okay, I'm coming to that. Just hold on, Shivaranjani. So these are the various nomenclatures as to how this civilization is called. The various nomenclatures. I've discussed that. Now, origin of this civilization. Now look here, understand this. Let us come to the origin. We have no definite information regarding the origin of this civilization. This is based on conjecture, hypothesis. This is purely based on hypothesis, intelligent guesswork or conjecture as to how this civilization could have originated. And there is no unanimity among scholars, among historians, as to how this civilization originated. Initially, there was no unanimity. Now, generally, it is considered to be an indigenous origin. It indigenously evolved, but we'll come to that. Now, we have this so-called foreign origin theory given by Mortimer Wheeler. So, we have a British historian called Mortimer Wheeler, and he gave this foreign origin theory. Mortimer Wheeler felt that the Harappan civilization was implanted from outside. He says that he says that this is called foreign origin theory. Foreign origin theory says that it was the Mesopotamians, who implanted this civilization, um, this civilization. That is, they came all the way from Mesopotamia and they implanted the civilization here in this country. It was an extension, in other words, of the Mesopotamian civilization. Now, you need to understand Mortimer Wheeler's mind here. Why did he say this? On what basis does he say this? On the basis of certain similarities. On the basis of certain similarities. Now, look here. I'll jump to some slides here for my convenience. Now, look here. Now, look here on your screen. On your screen, this is the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro. Okay, you can see here, this is the Great Bath on your screen. This is the Great Bath. And around the Great Bath, so there was water in the Great Bath once upon a time. You can see steps going down here, and there are also steps coming from this direction into the Great Bath. And around the Great Bath, we see rooms here. You can see this. These are rooms. Of course, the roof has collapsed. The roof has collapsed. Only the walls, some walls are remaining. Now, this was a ritual bathing site. So the belief among historians is that Harappans used to clean themselves here, wash themselves here in the Great Bath, and then around the Great Bath in those rooms, some ablutions or rituals were performed. Now, very interestingly, we have in Mesopotamia the temple of Ishtar. So there's a place called Ishtar, the temple of Ishtar. This is just for your interest. On what basis Mortimer Wheeler came to the conclusion that the the Indus civilization was an extension of the Mesopotamian civilization. I'm only explaining that. So don't need to remember this. You just remember this, that foreign origin theory was given by Mortimer Wheeler. These details are only for your interest. Now look here, not important from the exam point of view. Now, we have the temple of Ishtar in Mesopotamia. And in that place, in the temple of Ishtar, we have a similar bathing pool. There's a similar bathing pool, and around that bathing pool, we have rooms. So this is one similarity between the Harappan civilization and the Mesopotamian civilization, right? Then we have something called seals. Just hold on. So we have the Harappans using something called seals. Now, what is a seal? I'll come to that later. The details, I'll come to that later. Now, look here. Look at the pictures on your screen. You see this picture here on the left of your screen. This is the picture of a hero. You can see here, there's a hero there holding two tigers in his hand. No, as if they are two kittens. He's holding two tigers in his hands like that, like a hero. Now, this is depicted on a seal, on a clay tablet found in one of the Harappan sites. We have found this hero holding two tigers in his hand. Now, in Mesopotamia, we have found on their seal a similar character. He is called Gilgamesh. The Mesopotamian script is deciphered. We are able to read the script. So, a hero called Gilgamesh, I'm going back to where I stopped. Yeah. So there's a hero called Gilgamesh. So this Gilgamesh, a hero called Gilgamesh, is holding two lions in his hand like that. So that is depicted on a seal in Mesopotamia. So here in Harappan civilization, a hero is holding two tigers, whereas in Mesopotamia, a hero called Gilgamesh is holding two lions. Right. Now, based on these similarities, Mortimer Wheeler felt that this was an extension of the Mesopotamian civilization. The Mesopotamians came here and they implanted their civilization in this country. So on that basis, he made this conclusion. But then he forgot to mention that the differences are more than the similarities. The differences between the Harappan civilization is more than the differences between the Harappan and the Mesopotamian civilizations are more than the similarities. In fact, there are more differences than similarities. Harappans used to live in well-planned cities and towns. We'll come to the city planning of the Harappans in some time. So Harappans used to live in well-planned cities and towns, whereas the Mesopotamians lived in cities, but they were not well-planned. They were haphazardly planned, right? The religious practices of the Harappans are different compared to that of the Mesopotamians. The script is different. Harappan script is different when compared to that of the Mesopotamians, right? So in various other aspects, there are stark differences. Only some similarities are there, but the differences are more. Therefore, other historians have rejected this theory. So this foreign origin theory was rejected on this basis. Are you there with me? Then we come to second theory given by Professor Rafiq Mughal. So he was a Pakistani archaeologist. He says that the Harappan civilization originated from the four Baluchi cultures of Baluchistan. So at a place called Baluchistan in Pakistan, we have four cultures: Zob, Quetta, Null, and Kulli. Zob, Quetta, Null, and Kulli. These are called Baluchi cultures. So Rafiq Mughal believed that the Harappan civilization originated from the Baluchi cultures of Zob, Quetta, Null, and Kulli. But please understand, these are pre-Harappan cultures. These are pre-Harappan cultures. They are not proto-Harappan cultures. What is the meaning of proto-Harappan? The thing is, proto-Harappan culture is that which anticipated certain essential elements of the Harappan culture. So here the argument is that the Harappan civilization did not suddenly, developed into a full-blown civilization. Gradually it evolved, pre-Harappan and then proto-Harappan and then finally the mature Harappan civilization. Now here, these are rural cultures. Zob, Quetta, Null, and Kulli are rural cultures. They are pre-Harappan and again rural cultures. And historians believe that suddenly it cannot be believed that such a rural culture could have developed into the full-blown Harappan culture, right? He doesn't give substantiating facts for us. He doesn't give us proof to say that the Harappan civilization evolved from these Baluchi cultures of Baluchistan, right? They are basically rural cultures, not proto-Harappan cultures. So therefore, this theory was rejected. Then we have the most acceptable theory given by two historians, Amalananda Ghosh, A. Ghosh, Amalananda Ghosh, Amalananda Ghosh, A. Ghosh, and H.D. Sankaria. So they say that the Harappan civilization evolved from the pre-Harappan cultures of Amri, Kodtiji, and Kalibangan. So Amri, Kodtiji in Sindh. So they are in Sindh. Amri and Kodtiji are in Sindh, and Kalibangan in Rajasthan, right? So gradually, people living in Amri, Kodtiji, and Kalibangan, they developed advanced material culture. They developed a script. They began to live in well-planned villages and towns. Then they used terracotta and jewelry, etc. Jewels made of beads and carnelian. So slowly, from the pre-Harappan culture, it became proto-Harappan and finally evolved into the later-day Harappan culture. So this theory of Amalanda Ghosh and H.D. Sankalia has been accepted by most of the historians. Are you there with me? Hello? Are you there with me? Please raise your hand so that I can go to the next aspect. Yeah, okay. Why can't we read Harappan script and we can read Mesopotamian? Yeah, that is puzzled even now. Basava Raja, Nyamati, we are not able to read the script with all the technology we have. Please repeat this slide. Okay, Kennedy, I said, okay. So Mortimer Wheeler's theory, foreign origin theory, I told you, based on certain similarities between the Harappan and the Mesopotamian civilization, he said that Mortimer Wheeler felt that it was an extension, the Harappan civilization was an extension of the Mesopotamian civilization. But he forgot that the differences are more than the similarities. And since the differences are more than the similarities, we other historians have rejected the theory of Mortimer Wheeler. Baluchi cultures from Pakistan, Baluchistan in Pakistan, that theory was rejected again because this was a rural culture, and Harappan civilization was a full-blown urban civilization. So a full-blown urban civilization couldn't have suddenly evolved from the backward rural cultures of Balochistan, Pakistan. And again, Professor Rafiq Mughal doesn't give us any substantiating proof to prove his theory that it evolved, the Harappan civilization evolved from these Baluchi cultures. So that theory was rejected. And finally, I told you, Avananda Ghosh and H.D. Sankalia give the indigenous origin theory. The pre-Harappan cultures of Amri, Kodiji, Kalibangan gradually developed into the later-day Harappan civilization, right? Because they developed alloy technology, material advancement, script, etc. And that's how it came into existence. Now we'll take a small break now, 7:45. Can we go for a break? A 10 minutes break, is it fine? 10-15 minutes break? How much time do you want? 15 minutes is fine? Sandeep, no? Sandeep doesn't want a break? We can take break after 8:30, he says. What about others? We go by the majority opinion, Sandeep. Okay. So we go for a break, 15 minutes break, and we'll come back. Majority of these students want a break, Sandeep, so we go by them. We'll take a 15 minutes break and come back. Thank you. We'll see you in exactly 8 o'clock sharp. We'll meet. Good morning once again. Loud and clear. Am I loud and clear and visible? Yeah, thank you, Zainab. Pratik. Can we continue? Right. So we looked at the origin, the various theories as regards the origin of this civilization. But the consensus of opinion among scholars, as I've told you, is that it was an indigenous origin. It arose indigenously within this country, and slowly the cultures of Amri, Kodiji, and Kalnibangan became the full-blown Harappan civilization. Now, regarding the extent of this civilization, as we have seen, the Harappan civilization was the largest amongst the contemporary civilizations. It was the largest amongst the contemporary civilizations, spread over an area of 1.3 million square kilometers. It was spread over an area of 1.3 million square kilometers. The northernmost site is considered to be Manda in Jammu Kashmir. So this is the northernmost site, Manda. Daimabad in Maharashtra is the southernmost site. So Manda is the northernmost site. Daimabad is the southernmost site. Now, what is the distance between Manda and Daimabad? 1,100 kilometers, 1,100 kilometers. Now, the easternmost site, as you can see, is Alamgirpur in UP. And the westernmost site is in Pakistan, that is Sutka Gendor in Balochistan, Pakistan. And west to east, it is 1,600 kilometers. So remember the northernmost, southernmost, easternmost, and westernmost sites. Manda in the north, Daimabad in the south, Sutka Gendor in the west, and Alambirpur in the east. Now, so these are the important sites in the four corners. Now, we have a particular site called Shortugai in Afghanistan. On your screen, if you see, there is this place called Shortugai. I'll show you here, Shortugai. Now, some historians consider not Manda, but Shortugai as the northernmost site. They say Shortugai should be the northernmost site, not Manda. But then historians don't agree to Shortugai being the northernmost site because this was only a trading colony. This was only a trading colony and therefore and not a regular city. Trading colony. It was only a trading colony and not a city, and therefore Shortugai is not considered as the northernmost site. But in case there's a question, I have mentioned it here, in case there's an MCQ question in the examination stating that Shortugai is the northernmost site, please mention Shortugai. If there is no Shortugai mentioned in the choices given and only Manda is given as the choice, you mention Manda. But if Shortugai is given, please mention Shortugai, right? That is the disclaimer I have given you here. Are you clear with me? Not Ropar, Stephen. Manda is supposed to be the northernmost site, not Ropar. Are you clear? Shortugai in in Afghanistan is considered to be the northernmost site, according to some historians. But most historians don't consider Shortugai because it was a trading colony and not a regular city. But in the examination, in case a question is given stating that Shortugai is one of the choices given as one of the northernmost sites, then you mention Shortugai. Otherwise, it is Manda. If both are given, which one should be selected? Obviously, if both are given, mention Shortugai. Jyoti, yeah. If both are given, mention Shortugai. Okay, I move on. Now, I have mentioned the Harappan sites in a sequential order of their excavation or discovery. Now, UPSC is not going to ask you the sequential order of discovery, definitely not. But what they can ask you is which Harappan site is on the bank of which river. That becomes important. Which Harappan site is on the bank of which river. For other exams, like state service exams and other exams, they might ask you the sequential order of discovery of Harappan sites. But till now in UPSC, we have not noticed such a question being asked. So therefore, remember the rivers. Okay, the site. Remember the site, and the river. On the bank of which river, if at all it is situated on the bank of a river, on the bank of which river a particular site is located. Remember that. So as you can see on your screen, Harappa was the first site to be discovered by Dayaram Sahani. It is on the banks of the river Ravi in Punjab, Pakistan, the Pakistani part of Punjab. Mohenjo-daro discovered by R.D. Banerjee, Rakhaldas Banerjee. It is on the banks of the Indus, right bank of the Indus. RB have mentioned, but not necessary to know which side of the bank, right or left bank, not necessary. Just remember Indus if you want to. So R.D. Banerjee discovered Mohenjo-daro on the banks of the Indus River. Sutka Gendor, the westernmost site, excavated by Oral Stein on the banks of the Dasht River. Chanhudaro is also on the banks of the Indus, discovered by R.C. Majumdar. Rangpur on the banks of the Bhadar River by M.S. Vats. Madho Swarup Vats. It's not M.S. Vats. So M.S. Vats. Madho, I'll use another font. Madho Swarup Vats. Madho Swarup Vats. M.S. Vats. So he was the one who discovered Rangpur on the banks of the Bhadar River. Then Lothal on the banks of the Bogavo River. Ropar on the Satluj. Then Kodtiji on the Indus. Kalibangan on the banks of the Ghaggar or the extinct Saraswati. Then Banavali on the banks of the Saraswati. Dholavira, it is not on the bank of any river. And Dholavira is the latest Harappan site to be discovered. Dholavira is the latest Harappan site to be discovered. Right? Then Rakhigari in Haryana, you can see the excavations. It was discovered in 1963. Rakhigari, but the excavations began much later in 1997. And Rakhigari is now the biggest Harappan site. It is the largest Harappan site. Rakhigari is the largest Harappan site. We had a lot of articles in the Hindu newspaper. And in the Hindu newspaper, our last 4 years back, a few articles came. And imagine this was the size of Rakhigari, right? This was Rakhigari. Imagine this was the size of Rakhigari. And additional mounds were discovered next to Rakhigari. And when historians dug up those mounds, they found that Rakhigari was much bigger in size when compared to its previous size. So Rakhigari is now the largest Harappan site. Whether it is India or Pakistan, Rakhigari is the largest Harappan site. It is no more Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro is the second largest site. Why settlements not found in Peninsula? It did not spread. It did not spread beyond the Vindhyas. The southernmost site is Daimabad, Udayarani. The southernmost site is Daimabad. Harappans had trade contacts with the with South India, with parts of South India. In fact, gold was also procured from South India. But then the civilization did not spread beyond that. Which is the latest? Dholavira or Rakigari? Dholavira is the latest. 1991 Sham. Dholavira is the latest. Right. Now, at the time of independence, you see, when was the first site discovered? 1921. This civilization was discovered at Harappa. So Harappa was discovered in 1921. 1922, Mohenjo-daro was discovered. Right. So by 1947, only six sites had been discovered. Only six sites had been discovered. Right. And independence came along with partition. So with partition, four sites went away to Pakistan and two remained in India. And so four sites went away to Pakistan, two remained in India with partition. So what are the four sites which went away to Pakistan in 1947? These are the four sites: Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Channu-daro, and Jhukar. So Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Channu-daro, Jhukar went away to Pakistan, and two remained in India. That is Kotla, Nihangkang, and Rangpur. Kotla, Nihangkang is in the Punjab, and Rangpur is in Gujarat. So these two remained in India. As of now, we have found more than 1,000 sites pertaining to this civilization, both in India and Pakistan. Both in India and Pakistan, we have found 1,000 sites pertaining to this civilization. It is the work of the respective archaeological departments of Pakistan, India, and also helped by a number of archaeologists, foreign archaeologists, who were responsible for excavating and discovering new sites, both in India and Pakistan. So as of now, we have found more than 1,000 sites. Out of these 1,000 sites, about 220 are mature Harappan sites. 220 are mature Harappan sites. And out of these 220, about a dozen, about 12 are huge cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Dholavira, etc. They're huge cities, right? Now, after partition, you have a number of sites discovered. For example, S.R. Rao explored the Kutch area, Gujarat area, Gujarat, Kutch and Kathiawar areas, and he himself discovered more than 190 sites pertaining to the civilization. Y.D. Sharma explored the Punjab area, and he excavated a number of sites. Jagapati Joshi, J.P. Joshi, excavated sites in the Kutch area. And in Pakistan, other sites were discovered apart from Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. We have Kot Diji, Jalilpur, Gumla, Aladino, Balakot, etc. discovered in Pakistan. Right? Did we have any civilization during Harappa time in South India? Very interesting question, Basavaraja. So recently we have a site called Kiladi. Kiladi discovered in Tamil Nadu. Kiladi. Rice grains were found, paddy grains were found at Kiladi, along with vats and other things, other artifacts, including pots. And the government of Tamil Nadu, the Chief Minister, Mr. Stalin, sent these rice grains for analysis to America, to a lab in Florida. And it was discovered that once the reports came, it was found that it is as old as 3,500 BCE, the rice or paddy grains. So the government of Tamil Nadu says, the archaeologist who founded Kiladi, he believes and his team believes that Kiladi was a civilization existing parallelly with the Harappan civilization, or it might have been older than the Harappan civilization. But then still additional facts have to come in. And once we get additional excavations happen and then we find more artifacts, we will be getting more clarity as regards this civilization. So there were definitely cultures and parallel civilizations existing along with the Harappan civilization in other parts of India, particularly South India. I have not got books. Anita, you should ask the concerned person, because I'm only a teacher. I would not be able to answer that question. You please send a mail to the concerned department, and they'll be replying it to you. Right. So these are the important sites discovered after the after independence and partition of India. Right. Now let us come to the characteristic features of this civilization. The most important is the town planning of the Harappans. The town planning of the Harappans. Now look here. Let me explain to you with a board here. Now, the most unique aspect about the Harappan civilization is its town planning. This is the most striking feature of the Harappan civilization, the unique town planning which the Harappans had. Now, if we look at the principal cities, most important cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Kalibangan, Dholavira, etc., what we notice is that the cities were planned according to a particular manner. There was a particular plan which the Harappans followed. Now, imagine this is the ground level, this is the ground level, this is the ground level, right? Now, every city was divided into two parts, right? Every city was divided into two parts. So, R. Sharma book has latest edition. I don't know Manpreet Kaur. You should find out. There should be a latest edition. Whatever is the latest edition, you ask the bookstall person and look at the book. You'll be able to understand. Now, look here. So every city was designed according to a particular plan. So this is the ground level. Imagine this is the ground level, right? Now we have a raised portion of the earth. So on the western side, we have a raised portion of the earth, and on the eastern side, we have the so-called lower town. And on the western side of this city, we have a massive brick wall. So there's a massive brick wall surrounding the western part of the city. All the public buildings are found here. All the public buildings are found in the western side of the city. Now, what do I mean by public building? When I say public building, public buildings like Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro, the Great Granary at Mohenjo-daro, an oblong multi-pillared assembly hall, oblong multi-pillared assembly hall, a big rectangular building which probably served administrative purposes. So all these are public buildings used by the public, like you and me, right? So Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro, the Great Granary at Mohenjo-daro, an oblong multi-pillared assembly hall, and a rectangular building which probably served administrative purposes. They're all found on the western side of the city, and there's a massive brick wall. There's a massive brick wall surrounding this part of the city, giving protection to the inmates of that part of the city. So there's a massive brick wall surrounding that part of the city, the western side of the city. And this part of the city has been called Citadel. This has been called Citadel or Acropolis. This has been called Citadel or Acropolis. Now, on the eastern side, we have the lower town. This is the lower town on the eastern side. And in the lower town lived the common people. Common people like you and me used to live in the lower town. And what we notice is there is no massive brick wall. There's no brick wall surrounding the lower town, except at two places. Only at two places we have a brick wall surrounding the lower town. These two places are Surkotada, a site called Surkotada, and Kalibangan. Only at these two places we have a massive brick wall surrounding the lower town. Otherwise, this brick fortification is absent in the lower town. Okay, and when we talk about the remarkable town planning of the Harappans, we are referring to the lower town. When we talk about the remarkable town planning of the Harappans, we are referring to the lower town. So every city was divided into two parts. On the western side, a raised platform where we find public buildings, and there's a massive brick wall surrounding the western part of the city, which is called Citadel or Acropolis. And on the eastern side, we had the lower town where common people used to live. and only at Surkotada and Kalibangan we have the lower town also fortified. Okay, so what does it show? What does this show? The way the city has been designed, what does it show? Anybody can answer that? Massive brick wall surrounding the western side of the city. Yeah, very good, Zeba. Zeba has hit the bullseye. Social inequality. Very good. It shows class differentiation. It shows class differentiation. There was social inequality, as she puts it very nicely. So people living in the western side were considered more important than people living in the eastern part of the city, right? So there was class differentiation, discrimination, right? Now let us come to the town planning. That is how the lower town looked like. I'll use another page. Now look here. Roads ran from north to south. Roads ran from north to south, east to west, dividing the city into square or rectangular blocks. So you can have a road coming like this, 90-degree angle, cutting each other at a 90-degree angle like this. We are copying the Harappan, so don't take my diagram very seriously. It's not exactly in alignment, but you draw a 90-degree line, right? So here you have roads running from north to south, east to west, dividing the city into square or rectangular blocks. So if you take an aerial view of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, you go in a hot air balloon, or you go in a helicopter and look down, what do we see? It looks like a chessboard. The city has been divided into grids. So this has been called a chessboard pattern. Chessboard pattern or grid system or grid system. Roads running from north to south, east to west, dividing the city into square or rectangular blocks. So यहाँ पे देखिए क्रॉस रोड है और मेन रोड है, क्रॉस रोड है, and so the city is getting divided into square or rectangular blocks. You had houses here. You had houses here. These are the houses. Imagine these are the houses. Similarly, houses here. Houses here. Now let us say you're taking a walk in the street of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. You're taking a walk in the street of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro like this. I have drawn an arrow mark. So you're walking in the street, and what do you notice? You see that side and this side of the road, you see only a plain wall. You see only a plain wall. So what is the meaning of that? The meaning is that none of the houses had their doors and windows facing the main street. None of the houses had their main door and window facing the main street, right? And so you see only a massive brick wall on either side of the road. And some roads were as wide as 33 feet. Some roads were as wide as 33 feet. Now, where was the entrance to the houses from? If the entrance to the if the main door was not facing the main street, then where was the entrance to the houses from? From the side lanes. यहाँ पे देखिए, there's a small gully there, small gully or a side lane, and the houses entrance to the houses was from the side lanes like this. So what is the explanation given for this? The explanation given for this is there could be two reasons. One is for flood protection. So they might have designed their cities like this for flood protection. That is one. And the second is probably for privacy. So these are the two reasons cited by historians for flood protection and for privacy, right? So therefore, none of the doors and windows are facing the main street. Only at Lothal, please understand, Lothal is the only exception where we have the main door facing the main street. Main door is facing the main street only at Lothal, right? Flood protection, you see, if there's only a massive brick wall, and no doors and windows are facing the main road, if there's a flood, they can easily block this path. You see the small lane through which the entrance to the houses was. They could have blocked this path like this, and the flood water will easily go away like this, right? It can go away. So that was the and that is the understanding. Now look here. Just a minute. So every house had a toilet. Look here. Every house had a toilet, and every house had a well. Imagine there's a toilet here. This green color, I'm marking it green here. So every house had a toilet, and every house had a well. And this toilet was placed next to the street drain. So this is the street drain, the small street drain here, and this was covered. I'll show you the picture in some time. Just hold on. This street drain was covered with stone slabs. So there were stone slabs like this, and the bathroom was placed next to the street drain. So every house had a toilet, and every house had a well, and that toilet was placed next to the street drain. So all the dirty water, the sewage will go and fall into that street drain. So there's a street drain coming from here, this side of the lane. Okay, it was covered. So what is the meaning of this? So you had manholes at intervals. So you don't have exactly manholes. It was basically a stone slab. In case the drain got clogged, blocked, then there was some authority. We can presume the existence of a municipal authority existing in the Harappan civilization. So the personnel of the municipal authority will come, they'll remove the stone slab and they'll unclog the drain. They'll remove the blockage and again close the slab. So we can presume the existence of a municipal authority. Similarly, you have a drain coming from this part of the road, okay, and then again another drain coming from this part of the road. And all these drains are joining a main drain. There's a big drain, main drain like this, and all the dirty water goes and falls into the nearby river. So all this sewage goes and falls into the nearby river. So from this we come to know that the Harappans gave a lot of importance to health and hygiene, health and cleanliness, health and hygiene. They gave a lot of importance to health and hygiene. So every street had a well. Every street had a well, right? Every street had a well. Every house had a toilet and a well. Taking bath is part of our culture, and this is a legacy left behind by the Harappans, right? So this is the remarkable underground drainage system of the Harappans. And these drains which the Harappans made were made of burnt bricks. They were made of burnt bricks, the drains, and they were made watertight with lime, gypsum, and mortar. Gypsum and mortar. Mortar is cementing agent, something like a cement. So they used to make these drains out of burnt bricks and then plaster it with lime, gypsum, and mortar, so that the dirty water doesn't seep into the ground, right? Dirty water doesn't seep into the ground and contaminate the groundwater as such. So this is the remarkable town underground drainage system and town planning of the Harappans. Are you there with me? Can I continue? Hello? Lime is chunam, chunam, gypsum, lime, and mortar. Yeah, the main drain was also obviously covered with slabs. The main drain was running on the side and it was covered with slabs. It was slightly bigger than the side drains, the small drains. Yeah. So every house had a toilet. These toilets were placed next to the street drain. So there was a small street drain or a gutter. All the dirty water will fall into the gutter, and these small gutters were connected to a main gutter, and all the dirty water of the city will go and fall into the nearby river. Right. So this is the remarkable underground drainage system of the Harappans. Now look here. The bathrooms. When we talk about the bathrooms or the toilets, they were tapering towards one end. They were tapering towards one end so that the water, dirty water easily goes and falls into the drain outside, right? And then these were tiled bathrooms. The Harappans used to make clay tiles. So they used to make clay tiles and they used to fire it in the kiln. They used to bake it in the kiln, and then they used to lay these tiles on the bathroom floor. So they were tiled bathrooms and they were tapering towards one end, right? Now I'll use another picture here. Now, if you look at the Harappan houses, um, you have some houses were two-storied. So some houses were two-storied like this. So that means it had a first floor. And how do you go to the first floor? You have staircases. External staircase was there with burnt bricks, sorry, with solid masonry. So people will climb these stairs and go to the first floor. And some houses were one-room tenements meant for the coolies. So what does it show? Again, class differentiation. Some way people were better off, some people were not so better off. So some were two-storied houses, that is, it had a first floor, and to go to the first floor, we had an external staircase built of solid masonry, solid bricks, and some houses were single-room tenements meant for the coolies. So again, it shows class differentiation or inequality. Right? Again, it shows class differentiation or inequality. Now, rooms were built around a central courtyard. Look here, this is open to sky. Rooms were built around a central courtyard. If you enter a Harappan house, what do you see? You see open to sky. I'm sure you must have noticed such houses in India. In all parts of India, we have such houses, particularly in the rural areas. Big houses are there like this. So you have an open to sky there. So the wind, the rain, sunlight falls into the open to sky. And around this open to sky, we have rooms like this. We have rooms like this, right? So this is pretty much the design concept which was developed by the Harappans. Until recently, we had such houses existing. Even now, in rural areas, in small towns, and some cities also, we have such houses, old houses, where there is a free flow of air, light, and rain coming into the open to sky area. So Harappans had a kitchen. There was a kitchen, right? Um, right. Now, if you enter a Harappan house, a room, you imagine this is the room. You enter the room of in a Harappan's house. We notice that the doors were placed at the corners of the wall. You see here, this is the door. Door has been placed at the corner of the wall. What is the reason for that? Just hold on, Zeba. I'll show you the picture. Roshan, आंगन रोशन हाँ आंगन यू कैन कॉल इट एज एन आंगन लेकिन ये आंगन अंदर था घर के अंदर था बाहर नहीं था तो देयर इज एन ओपन टू स्काई और एन आंगन एज यू पुट्स इट नाइसली एंड yeah meant for zeba right no direct view no this is open to sky the houses were designed like this the rooms were built around an open courtyard open to sky or an open courtyard right and then what is the reason as to why the doors were placed at the corners of the wall? I'm showing you the picture here. Look at this picture. What is the reason as to why doors were placed at the corners of the wall? No direct view, no privacy, no roof, light, no. Now look here. This is for better utilization of space. Better utilization of space here. If you place the door in the center of the wall, you will not be able to utilize the space properly. You go back and remember your houses, your bedroom, let us say. In your bedroom, the door has been placed at the corner of the wall, right? This is for better utilization of the space. So Harappans used to place their doors at the corners of the wall like this. Very less stones have been used. Harappans used to use very less stones. Not that they have not used stones at all. Very less stones have been used. Very less stones. So houses were made of burnt bricks. They were made of burnt bricks of uniform size, 4:2:1 in ratio. 4:2:1 in ratio. That is the length, the width, and the height of the bricks. Uniform throughout the 1.3 million square kilometers. We have uniform size of bricks. 4:2:1 in ratio. Right. And also they used to use sun-dried bricks. Apart from burnt bricks, at places they have used sun-dried bricks. Sun-dried bricks. Right. Now, for corners, we have L-shaped bricks like this for corners. So when two walls are meeting, यहाँ पे देखिए, two walls are meeting like this, like an L shape. Okay. So they used to make L-shaped bricks for corners. This is meant for corners. And Kalibangan has yielded ornamental bricks. We have evidence of ornamental bricks at Kalibangan. Ornamental bricks. Now, you might have noticed a mason, okay, or a building construction worker building a wall, a load-bearing wall. Now, how are load-bearing walls constructed? Look here on your screen. So imagine, I'll use another color. Let's say this is the ground level. This is the ground level. So what does the mason do or the construction worker do who's building a wall? He will place bricks in a particular manner. He'll place bricks so imagine these are the bricks. So in the first 2-3 layers, he'll put bricks in a uniform manner like this. Okay, he'll lay bricks like this in a uniform manner. Then what does he start doing after some level? He starts arranging bricks alternatively in a zigzag manner. For example, like this. Okay. So these are in a alternate headers and stretchers. So Harappans used to build their walls like this. If we build walls like this, it is supposed to add strength to the wall. We are copying the Harappans even now. And this has been called English bond method. English bond method of building walls. That is alignment of bricks in alternate headers and stretchers. Alignment of bricks in alternate headers and stretchers. Harappans used to never plaster their wall. Nowadays, what do? We build a wall and then we plaster it. The mason plasters it and then they put lime and then the painting is done. Harappans never used to do anything like that. Once the wall was built, they should not plaster it. It was left unplastered. So if we build walls, even nowadays, load-bearing walls, walls which take the load of the building are built in this manner. And if walls are built like this, it is supposed to add strength to the building. So this is the remarkable town planning of the Harappans. And one more thing, every street had a well, as I told you, every street had a well, and there were spittoons placed at the corners of the streets. Spittoons meant for spitting purpose. Harappans used to not spit wherever they wanted on the streets, we see so many people doing nowadays also. But then they used to have spittoons placed at vantage position points in the street, and people used to spit into those spittoons. And of course, we had lamps, street lighting. So street lights were there. That is, you have flames. Flames were kept burning for some time in the evening, meant for lightening up the streets. So this is the remarkable town planning of the Harappans. In none of the contemporary civilizations, Mesopotamia or Egypt, or for that matter, China, we had people living in well-planned cities and towns like this. Right? This is the remarkable town planning of the Harappans. Dikshit, please write a mail and you'll be able to understand. Um, there were no pillars. Musarraf Khan, there were no pillars, independent pillars. They might have been very small sort of platforms, but we have not come across any pillars as such, load-bearing pillars as such. They might have used so since they were engaged in agriculture, obviously they must have been extracting oil also, right, with their hand. So therefore, they might have used some oil to keep those lamps burning. So this is the remarkable town planning of the Harappans. Are you clear? Are you clear, all of you? So we'll come back here. So look on your screen. So most striking feature of the Harappans is their town planning. Uniformity is seen in cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Kalibangan. Uniformity in city planning. On the west, on a raised platform, we have all the public buildings. That is, buildings of religious and political significance. That is called citadel area or Acropolis. On the eastern side, we have the lower town, where common people like you and me used to live. You can see here on your screen. This is the town planning of the Harappans. Citadel area on the western side. Citadel area on the western side, and lower town on the eastern side. So fortified lower town, Surkotada and Kalibangan. So Surkotada and Kalibangan were the fortified lower towns. Cities were built on the grid system, that is chessboard pattern. You can see on your screen, roads running from north to south, east to west, dividing the city into square or rectangular blocks. So it looked like a chessboard pattern. Houses were equipped with wells and tiled bathrooms. You can see the picture here on your screen. You can see the drainage system of the Harappans at Mohenjo-daro. You can see here the drains are coming out of the houses. Drains are coming out and joining the drain here. Small drains coming and joining the street drain, and you have slabs here. You can see slabs. So if the dirt gets clogged, they will remove the slab, push it to the one side, and then unclog the drain and then put it back. So look at the arrangement of bricks, beautiful burnt bricks made watertight with lime, gypsum, and and mortar, right? So it looks like any modern village in any part of India. So this is the remarkable drainage system. They had, we can presume the existence of a municipal authority. There was some sort of a municipal organization which used to keep these drains unclogged and in a functional order. Lamp posts were there, spittoons were existing. Rooms are built around a central courtyard. You can see here in a picture. So on your screen, rooms are built around a central courtyard. So you have rooms all around this courtyard. And doors and windows never face the main street. There were doors and windows placed at the corners of the wall and never faced the main street except at Lothal. They use burnt bricks of good quality, uniform size of bricks, 4:2:1 in ratio. L-shaped bricks were used for corners of the wall, where one wall was coming and joining another wall. L-shaped bricks were used. Kalibangan has yielded ornamental bricks. And we have English bond method to build walls. Some houses were two-storied, some were single-room tenements. So you can see here, this is called English bond method, very ironically called English bond method. They should have named it as Indus bond method or India bond method. So you can see here the bricks. These are called stretchers and this is called headers. So when you build a wall like this, a load-bearing wall like this, which is even now built, it is supposed to add strength to the building. So many of the design concepts are even now followed by us, which was developed by the Harappans. This is the remarkable town planning of the Harappans. Yeah, as I told you, Subhankar, some stones were used, very less stones were used. Mostly they used burnt bricks and sometimes sun-dried bricks, right? Food practices will come, don't worry. Now let us come to the polity and other aspects of this civilization. Um, so you come, I'll just come back here, just hold on. You see, I told you in the citadel area, we have all the buildings of religious and political significance. Buildings of religious and political significance are found in the citadel area, isn't it? So, citadel area, buildings of religious and political significance. And what we notice is that this design concept is even now copied by us, even nowadays. For example, if you look at New Delhi, we have the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the Raisina Hill. It is on the Raisina Hill. It's at a raised platform, right? Who are the architects of New Delhi? Edwin Lutyens and Edward Baker and Edwin Lutyens. So there was a forest, I believe, there. Once upon a time there was a forest during the British time. So the British cleared a part of the forest on that hill, and then they built the Vice Regal Lodge, that is the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So it's at a height. Similarly, you have the North Block and the South Block Parliament House. That's at a height. So even now we copy this sort of design concept which was developed by the Harappans. In the citadel area was at a height. So it is believed that the ruler or rulers, we don't know, there was one king or many kings. So historians believe that probably the king, the ruler or the rulers were living in this part of the city, and there is a massive brick wall surrounding this part of the city to give protection to the government there, the king or the kings ruling there. We don't know whether there was one king or a panchayat system, like a group of kings ruling that area, ruling the civilization. So even now, public buildings of importance, um, government buildings look apart from the other common buildings. They look apart. They are at a height. They are massive. They look different. So even now we are copying that, which was a design concept developed by the Harappans. Right now we'll go to other aspects of this civilization. Polity. What kind of a political arrangement or political structure did the Harappans have? We don't know. Why do we don't know? Why don't we know? Because the script remains undeciphered. Since the script even now remains undeciphered, we are not able to read that script. We have to use intelligent guesswork, conjecture, hypothesis. Now, based on hypothesis, we have a few historians suggesting that this might have been the probable way the government was functioning in the Harappan civilization. D.D. Kosambi, uh, he says it was a priestly rule. D.D. Kosambi says that the civilization was ruled by priests. Now, on what basis does D.D. Kosambi say that the civilization was ruled by priests? Because this was a situation in Mesopotamia. Please understand, in Mesopotamian civilization, the king was also the chief priest. The king was also the chief priest. Like in many tribal, among many tribes, the tribal chief is also the chief priest, like the shaman. Chief priest is called shaman in a tribe. So he knows some magic. So he will perform that magic and he'll scare the people, and they will accept him as their leader or a chief. So in Mesopotamia, the king was also the chief priest. D.D. Kosambi believes that since there was contacts between these two civilizations, probably there was a priestly rule even in the Harappan civilization. So he says it was a priestly rule, whereas R.S. Sharma rejects this opinion of D.D. Kosambi. R.S. Sharma says that it was a merchant rule. It was ruled by merchants, he says, because the Harappans gave a lot of importance to trade and commerce. Within the Indus zone, they traded extensively and also internationally. So since a lot of importance was given to trade by the Harappans, R.S. Sharma feels that it was a merchant rule. It was ruled by merchants. Then we have Gordon Childe, the British historian Gordon Childe. He says probably there were state and central governments. There was a central government, there were state governments. There might have even been local and municipal governments, he says. Right? Then we have Stuart Pigou. Stuart Pigou says there were 3 or 4 independent kingdoms existing side by side, and probably Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were the principal capitals of these kingdoms. So 3 or 4 independent kingdoms existing side by side, and Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were the principal capitals of these kingdoms. That is the opinion of Stuart Pigott. But then the most acceptable theory is that of A.L. Basham. So A.L. Basham has written many books like The Cultural History of India, Wonder That Was India. So prominent historian, A.L. Basham. So he says that it was a centralized administration. On what basis does he say that it was a centralized administration? Because we see uniformity, standardization in certain aspects, like the way the Harappans designed their cities. They followed a particular plan, and this plan was pretty much seen throughout the 1.3 million square kilometers. Cities divided into two parts: western side, citadel area, lower town on the eastern side. So that is one thing. So uniformity in city planning. Then the size of the bricks, they are throughout the civilization the same size, 4:2:1 in ratio. The religious pantheon of the Harappans, that is, the religious practices of the Harappans, are similar throughout the civilization. The type of weights and measures the Harappans used is similar throughout the civilization. So what A.L. Basham felt is that there was some authority figure, there was some government or authority who enforced or which enforced standardization. It has to be like this. This is the standard to be maintained. So on that basis, A.L. Basham felt that it was a centralized administration, and this opinion of A.L. Basham has been accepted by most of the scholars. Right? Are you there with me? Yes, merchant rule means business class. Yes, even in the Gupta period, merchants played a very important role in running the affairs of the city. They're called Nigama Sabhas. So, R. S. Sharma felt that it was a merchant rule, right? Is it true that Harappan era called golden era, Divyani? I told you yesterday, we never had any golden era in our country. Never. We'll come to the food practices. Just hold on. Spittoons, Rajni, spittoon is meant for spitting purpose. Centralized administration is there was one monarch, there was one king, there was one authority figure, right? One solid central government sort of a thing which enforced standardization throughout the civilization. That is called centralized administration. That is the opinion of A.L. Basham. Now let's move on. Society. Let's come to society. Now, an analysis of the bones and skeletons. So, when historians, archaeologists have analyzed the bones and skeletons found in this civilization, we come to know that this was a heterogeneous population, not homogeneous. It was a heterogeneous population where there were 4 races existing along with each other. So, it was multidimensional, not unidimensional. So, it was a heterogeneous population, and we identify 4 races. 4 races existed here: Mediterranean race, Proto-Australoid, Mongoloid, and Alpinoid. Mediterranean, Proto-Australoid, Mongoloid, and Alpinoid. These are the 4 races existing in the Harappan civilization. But what we notice is that at Mohenjo-daro, the dominant race was Mediterranean race. Most of the skeletons found at Mohenjo-daro belong to the Mediterranean race. And on that ground, on that basis, historians believe that presumably that was the case in other Harappan cities also. In other Harappan cities also, probably the dominant race was the Mediterranean race. So there were 4 races, but at Mohenjo-daro, the dominant race was Mediterranean race. But then there was free racial mixture. There was free racial mixture. That is Mongoloid having relationship with Alpinoid, Alpinoid with Mediterranean, and so on and so forth. So there was free racial mixture, right? Now, John Marshall believed that based on the religious practices of the Harappans, the society might have been matriarchal. I repeat this, understand this part. John Marshall believed that based on the religious practices of the Harappans, the society might have been matriarchal. So, what is matriarchal? As you all know, matriarchal means mother is the head of the family, female is the head of the family, matriarchal. Now, what was the religious practices of the Harappans? Will come to that. But please understand, Harappans used to pray to 2 main gods. One is a male god, and another is a female goddess. So the male god has been given the name Pashupati Mahadeva. John Marshall was the one who gave the name Pashupati Mahadeva. We'll come to the details in some time. So Pashupati Mahadeva figure has been found on a clay tablet or a seal. Similarly, Harappans used to worship Mother Goddess. So there was a female deity, and the historians have called her Mother Goddess. And again, the figure of a Mother Goddess has been found on a clay tablet or a seal. We find more Mother Goddess seals when compared to Pashupati Mahadeva seals in the civilization. In the excavations, we find more Mother Goddess seals when compared to Pashupati Mahadeva seals. And on that basis, John Marshall felt that the society was matriarchal because religion always reflects society. Understand this part. Religion always reflects society. Now, let me substantiate this part. If you look at the pantheon of Hindu gods, we have Shiva, Vishnu, so many Hindu gods are there. If you look at the Hindu gods, many of them have families. Like for example, Shiva has his family, Parvati is there, his wife, and two children. Subramanya or Muruga and Ganesh, right? Now, if you look at all the Hindu gods, almost all of them have male children. They have boys, has sons. They have sons, not daughters. Hardly any have daughters. So, what is the explanation for this? During those days, the society was patriarchal, and they have shown our gods also like that, where the gods have more sons than daughters because the society was patriarchal. So, religion always reflects society. Religion always reflects society. On that basis, here in the Harappan civilization, we have found more Mother Goddess seals when compared to Pashupati Mahadeva seals. And on that basis, John Marshall felt that the society was probably matriarchal than otherwise. Are you there with me? Yeah, clear, all of you? Great. So that part you understand. Then it was a class divided society. We have seen this. It was a class divided society. That means there was no equality, not egalitarian. Everybody was not considered to be equal. We have seen this. The people living in the citadel area, they were given protection, additional protection, whereas in the lower town, there was no protection. Some houses were two-storied, some houses were single-room tenements. So there was class differentiation. And as regards the language spoken by the Harappans, we don't know what is the language spoken by the Harappans. Probably it was a Proto-Dravidian language. That's what historians say, that the language spoken by the Harappans became one of the later day Dravidian languages. So it was more a Proto-Dravidian language. That is, the language spoken by the Harappans became one of the later day Dravidian languages. That's what is the opinion given by historians. Yeah. So this is about the society of the Harappans. Then let us come to economy. Economy of the Harappans. So basically, we'll discuss all these things: agriculture, small scale industries, and trade and commerce. Now, with regarding agriculture, understand this: Harappans followed agriculture was their main occupation. Agriculture was their main occupation. So, main occupation was agriculture. So, it was basically an agrarian economy, and they practiced what is known as floodplain agriculture. What is floodplain agriculture? Every year, there used to be floods in the Indus River. So there used to be floods in the Indus River. So the river will bring copious amount of silt from the lower courses. So when the river is flowing down, it will bring huge amount of silt uh, and disperse it on the lower courses. What the Harappans used to do is they should take a digging stick or a hoe. They used to take a digging stick or a hoe, digging stick, and they used to make some digging on the earth. Already the soil was loose. So they did not require the usage of a plow. Not that they did not know about the plow. They knew about the plow because at Kalibangan, in the pre-Harappan levels at Kalibangan, we have found evidence of people using plow. So Harappans very much knew about the plow, but it was not used. It was not necessary to use the plow simply because the soil was already loose. So they will take a digging stick or a hoe and they'll make some cursory digging, and then they'll sprinkle seeds. And they used to grow two crops in a year, a winter crop and a summer crop. So what did they grow? That is called floodplain agriculture. That's called floodplain agriculture. So they used to grow two crops in a year, a winter crop. In winter, they used to grow wheat and barley. So this is a plowshare, as you can see. So Harappans knew about the wooden plow, but it was not used. Winter crop, wheat and barley, and summer crop like cotton, mustard, sesamum, jowar, peas, vegetables, fruits, etc. So they used to grow all these crops. They were one of the earliest to cultivate cotton in the world. Harappans were one of the earliest to cultivate cotton in the world. And Harappan cotton has been found in Mesopotamia. So there was trade between Harappans and the Mesopotamians because we have found evidence of Harappan cotton in Mesopotamia, right? And when the Greeks came into India, 326 BC, Alexander comes into India. They saw a lot of cotton crops in the region of Sindh, which is now in Pakistan, because through the northwest, Alexander enters India. So in the region of Sindh, the Greeks saw a lot of cotton crops, and they called it Sindan. They called cotton as Sindan, native to the region of Sindh. So they were one of the earliest to cultivate cotton. Animal husbandry was a supplementary occupation. Agriculture was their main occupation, but animal husbandry was a supplementary occupation. So they maintained many animals, domesticated many animals, including elephants, so cattle, pigs, etc., goats, sheep. Apart from that, even elephants were tamed by the Harappans. Elephants were not known to the Mesopotamians. Mesopotamians did not know about elephant. They had not tamed them, whereas the Harappans had even tamed the elephants. Harappans, till now, we have no evidence of they having cultivated sugarcane. Till now, we have no evidence of they having cultivated sugarcane. Rest of the things they cultivated, fruits, vegetables, etc. So this is about the agriculture of the Harappans. They practice what is known as floodplain agriculture, and they grew two crops in a year, a winter crop and a summer crop. Right? Clear? Sham, I said they were one of the earliest. I did not say they were the earliest. I said Harappans were one of the earliest to cultivate cotton in the world. Yeah, Zeba, I'm coming to horse. Just hold on. Did Harappan know about cow? Very interesting. Yeah. We have no evidence of cow in any of the seals as such. In the seals, we have no evidence of Harappans having known about the cow. Right? Bulls have been depicted, but not a cow has not been depicted. Right? But then cow might have existed. We cannot say they did not know about the cow at all. Right? How will the bull be born unless it has to be through a cow, isn't it? So it's logic. Logic. All right, right. We'll come back here. Clear? Floodplain agriculture. I'll come to that. Horse. I'll come to about. I'll talk about the horse in some time. Just know, Harappans knew about the horse, but it was not extensively used. They did not use the horse extensively. They knew about the horse, right? But not used extensively. Floodplain agriculture, I've already told you. Every year, you have floods in the Indus River, and the river will bring silt from the upper courses and disperse it on the lower courses. Once the flood waters receded, Harappans would take a digging stick, make some cursory digging, and then they'll sprinkle seeds, and they used to grow two crops in a year like this, winter crop and a summer crop. Okay, so this is a piece of cotton discovered, piece of cotton from Mohenjo-daro. You can see here on your screen, this is a piece of cotton from Mohenjo-daro. Now, we have found animal skeletons of the Harappan period. Camel skeleton from Kalibangan. Camel skeleton comes from Kalibangan. Elephant from the Gujarat region. Rhino from Amri. horse from Surkotada, and cat from Chanhudaro. So these are the various skeletons. So from the type of animals which existed during the Harappan period, we can presume the ecology. What could have been the ecology or environment in which the Harappans thrived? What could have been the environment for? Because for these animals to exist and thrive, the environment, the weather should also support it. The flora and the fauna should support it. So we can presume the ecology of that place at the time of the Harappans. Now, we have a site called Binjor in Rajasthan. A site called Binjor in Rajasthan. So, in one of the trenches at the 4 MSR site, that is the name of the site given by archaeologists, we have evidence of the Harappans eating even tortoise. They consume tortoise meat, as you can see here. So, this is the shell of a tortoise that has been broken, and the Harappans have consumed tortoise meat. So, Harappans used to consume tortoise also. Right. Now, let us come to other aspects of economy. We have discussed agriculture. Then let us come to small scale industries. So, Harappans engage in specialization of crafts. They engage in specialization of crafts like shell and bead industries, From Lothal and Chanhudaro, we get shell and bead industry, shipbuilding, carpentry, brick making, then metallurgy. They knew about gold, silver, copper, tin, not iron. They had no knowledge of iron. And regarding textiles, they knew about cotton and wool, but not silk. So these are the various crafts engaged in by the Harappans. Shell and bead industries, carpentry, brick making, shipbuilding, metallurgy like gold, silver, copper, bronze. They had no knowledge of iron, and cotton and wool was known to them, but not silk. Right? This is small scale industries. Basically, this is factual information, so I can go a little faster. Is it fine? I can go a little faster now, wherever there's factual information. And wherever I need to pause, I'll definitely pause. Um, and I will explain. Is it fine, students? Okay. Now, let us come to trade and commerce. You see, the Harappans lived in a huge area, right? It was the largest of the contemporary civilizations, 1.3 million square kilometers. We have seen this 1.3 million 1.3 million square kilometers. So that was the huge area in which the Harappans lived. And throughout the Indus zone, the Harappans traded with various parts extensively. For example, they traded with present regions of Saurashtra, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, South India, parts of Western UP and Bihar. So they traded with all these regions, what we now call Rajasthan, Saurashtra, Maharashtra, South India, parts of Western Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. They also traded with the Chalcolithic Ahar culture. So you have the Ahar culture in Rajasthan. So they were technologically still backward. Chalcolithic period is what? Stone Copper Age. Harappans were in the Bronze Age. Technologically, they were ahead of some of the people, the Harappans, because they were living in cities and they had developed alloyed technology, mixing copper and tin. Whereas some people were still backward technologically, like the Chalcolithic people of Ahar. So they also traded with the Chalcolithic Ahar culture. And they also traded with the Neolithic cultures of Kashmir and South India. So in Kashmir and South India, we had Neolithic cultures. People were still in the New Stone Age, right? They were yet to discover copper and then develop bronze. So they also traded with the Neolithic cultures of Kashmir and South India. So this is the inter-regional trade of the Harappans. They also traded extensively with Bahrain and Mesopotamia. So Harappans engaged in international trade. And how do we know this? We'll come to that. We have archaeological evidence as well as literary evidence. So Mesopotamia or Bahrain, Mesopotamia or Sumeria and Bahrain. So they traded with these two areas, Mesopotamia and Bahrain. Now, how do we know this? We have archaeology to support this theory, or this particular proof that there was trade and cultural contacts between the Harappans and the Mesopotamians. And we have literary evidence also. Harappan script remains undeciphered. We all know that. But the Mesopotamian script has been deciphered. The Mesopotamian script has been decoded. So from the Mesopotamian script, we get some information about the contacts between the Mesopotamians with the Harappans. So we'll first discuss about the archaeological evidence as regards trade between these two civilizations. As we all know, Harappans were one of the earliest to cultivate cotton. And Indus cotton cultivated in the Indus region has been found in some of the Mesopotamian cities. So that is one evidence we have. So bales of cotton, bale is a bundle, cotton bundles have been found in the Sumerian city of Umma. So just as Harappans, we have given names to Harappan cities like Lothal, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Chanudaro, Dholavira, etc. In Mesopotamia also there were cities like Ur, Kish, Susa, Tel Asmar, etc. These are the names of some of the some of the Mesopotamian cities. So in some of the Mesopotamian cities like Umma, we have found bundles of Indus cotton. So obviously Harappans have exported cotton to Mesopotamia. That is one evidence we have regarding trade. Then similarly, Indus seals have been found. What is a seal? I'll go to the details later. Clay tablets. Seals are clay tablets. So Indus clay tablets or seals are found in various Mesopotamian cities like Susa, Ur, Kish, Tel Asmar, etc. That is another evidence. Similarly, Mesopotamian seals have been found. Mesopotamians also used to make seals. We have found Mesopotamian seals in some of the Indus sites, like for example, Mohenjo-daro. We have found cylindrical seals, cylindrical seals of Mesopotamia. They are in the shape of a cylinder. That has been found at Mohenjo-daro. Similarly, Persian Gulf seal and coarse grey pottery. Persian Gulf seal and coarse grey pottery native to Mesopotamia has been found at Lothal. So there was trade and cultural contacts between these two civilizations. Archaeology supports this. Are you clear? Hello? Yeah, shell means seashells. Shell, bhavna, seashells, right? It could also be that of snails. Yeah, but mostly seashells, right? So we have archaeology supporting this theory of trade between these two civilizations. Then we have literary evidence. Understand this, please. Literary evidence is also there regarding trade between these two civilizations. So what is the literary evidence we have? Look here. Understand this. The Harappan script remains undeciphered. We are not able to read the script, but the Mesopotamian script has been deciphered. So this Mesopotamian script has been called cuneiform. That is the name given to the Mesopotamian script, cuneiform script. And we are able to pretty much read the Mesopotamian script. Now, there is a piece of script of belonging to the period of King Sargon of Akkad. So look here, there was a king called Sargon. King Sargon, who ruled an area called Akkad. So King Sargon of Akkad. So Akkad was the name of his kingdom, and he ruled around 2300 BCE. So in the cuneiform records of King Sargon of Akkad, in a piece of inscription belonging to the period of King Sargon, we have references to three names. Three names have been mentioned. One is called Meluha. Another is called Dilman. And the third is called Makan. So Meluha, Dilman, Makan. Now, historians believe that this Meluha was the name given to the Indus region by the Mesopotamians. Mesopotamians used to call Indus region as Meluha in their language. Similarly, so Meluha has been identified with the Indus region. Dilman has been identified with Bahrain in the Persian Gulf. And Makran is the Makran coast. Makran coast of Pakistan. Present day Balochistan, Pakistan, the Makran coast. Now look here. I'll show you a map. You can see on your screen, there's a map. This is a modern map, but with old names. Now, Meluha, you can see to the right of your screen, there's a place called Meluha. Historians believe that Meluha was the name given to the Indus region by the Mesopotamians. Right. So from Harappans had an artificial dockyard at Lothal. Lothal is in Gujarat. So there was an artificial dockyard or a port built by the Harappans. So from Lothal, ships used to go to Mesopotamia. And similarly, ships used to come from Mesopotamia to Lothal. So there was trade between these two civilizations. So now let us say a ship is going from Lothal, the Meluha region or Indus region to Mesopotamia. What is the route taken by the ship? The ship will take this route. You can see on your screen, it will come to Makkan. Makkan is Makran coast. Then after some time, after loading, unloading the goods, they will carry on their journey. The ship will carry on its journey and reach Dilman. Dilman has been identified with Bahrain. So Dilman is Bahrain, Makkan is the Makran coast, and from Dilman it will reach Sumeria, that is Mesopotamia. Okay, so this is the route taken by the ships from Lothal to Mesopotamia. Similarly, from Mesopotamia, when the ships are coming to Indus region or Meluha, they will stop over at Bahrain. Then from Bahrain, they'll come to Makran and stop over at Makran coast, and then they'll come to Meluha. Now, did you understand? This is what is the evidence we find from the cuneiform records of King Sargon of Akkad. So, in the cuneiform records of King Sargon of Akkad, dated 2300 BC, there are three names mentioned: Meluha, Tilman, and Makan. Meluha is the name given to the Indus region by the Mesopotamians. Dilman has been identified with Bahrain, and Makan with the Makran coast. Are you there with me? Did you understand? Iraq, present-day name of Mesopotamia, that was in the region of Iraq. Are you clear? Please raise your hand so that I can go further. Okay, good. No doubts regarding this. So we have archaeological evidence and literary evidence which substantiate the fact that there was trade and cultural contacts between the Harappans and the Mesopotamians. Right. Stephen, is these facts important? Of course, it is important. We look at the questions later. The reference point is the questions. Now, please understand, I have tailor-made my PPTs according to the questions asked by the UPSC. Right? I have not gone beyond or less, in my class. So once you attend the class and look at the PPTs, you should be able to answer most of the questions and supplement the PPTs with the textbook reading. Then your preparation will be thorough. Makran coast is Maran, not Maran coast. It is Makran. Makan is Makran coast. Makran coast, right? So you can see here, this is the Makran coast. The almost the Horn of Africa, right? The Horn of Africa here. Now, what are the various imports and exports of the Harappans? The Harappans used to get a huge amount of material from outside. They traded extensively within the Indus zone and outside also. So what are the various imports of the Harappans? So on your screen, as you can see, these are all factual information. I can go through faster. Gold was from Afghanistan. They brought gold from Afghanistan. Persia, that is Iran. Persia is Iran, right? So they got from Iran gold, and South India, mostly from the Kolar gold fields. Kolar gold fields in South India. Kolar is a place in Karnataka, present-day Karnataka. Of course, the mines have become defunct. All the gold has been removed by the British and others. So there's no gold anymore left there. But then presumably from the Kolar gold fields, they used to get gold, the Harappans. Then silver from Afghanistan and Iran. Silver from Afghanistan and Iran. Copper from Balochistan and the Khetri mines of Rajasthan. Tin, steatite, agate, chalcedony, lead, lapis lazuli, turquoise from Iran, Kashmir, right? Amethyst, jade, carnelian shells, etc. So they used to import all these things from various parts of India and outside India also. Further, we have the exports of the Harappans. So what are the various exports of the Harappans? Obviously, cotton fiber, raw cotton was exported, cotton textiles were exported, shell and bead industries, jewels made of shell and beads were exported, food grains, ivory objects, all these were the exports of the Harappans. So imports and exports we have seen, right? Then we come to transport. Now, how do we know what was their mode of transport? We have seals on the seals or the clay tablets, and also terracotta models, clay models of toys. We come to know about the probable mode of transport of the Harappans. Now, overland through bullocks, they use bullock carts and pack oxen, and sea and river transport was with the help of ships and boats. So, so evidence comes from seals and terracotta models. You can see on your screen, this is a model of a bullock cart of the Harappan period. It has been called Ikka or a bullock cart. And you can see here, this bullock cart doesn't have spokes. It is a solid wheel. No spokes are there here. It doesn't have spokes. It is a wheel with it is a solid wheel without any spokes. So they use probably bullock carts like this, the Harappans. Then we have clay models of boats. Probably these are the models of boats which the children of Harappans used to play with. So there's a boat with a sail here, two boats with sails, clay models of boats. Then again on an Indus seal, we have found a huge boat with a huge sail. So probably these are the type of ships or a ferry which they used to use to go to Mesopotamia. So this is the mode of transport of the Harappans. Then we come to weights and measures. Weights and measures, we have found various weights and building and commercial purposes. They used to use weights both for building and commercial purposes. Weights proceeded in a series 1, 2, 4, 8, onwards up to 64. So they doubled like that. And then in decimal multiples of 16. And sticks with measure marks also have been found to measure the length. Sticks with measure marks, mostly made of bronze, have been found. So they used to use weights and measures for both commercial and building purposes. And also a plumb bob has been found. You can see here, there's a plumb bob. So nowadays, even nowadays, you have a mason who uses the plumb bob to get the alignment correct, 90-degree angle of walls. So he will use this weight and to see whether the wall is being built in a 90-degree straight line. So Harappans must have used a plumb bob also, because we have perfect alignment of streets like this, 90-degree angle streets are there. So without a plumb bob, they wouldn't have been able to make such streets, right? Religion. Now, what about the religion of the Harappans? Now, most of the evidence comes from seals. So here we have a male god and a female goddess which the Harappans used to worship. The male god has been called Pashupati Mahadeva. So on your screen, look at this picture here on your screen. We see the figure of a deity or a god. This god has three noses. Look here, one nose, 1, 2, 3. So he has got three noses and two horns. He's wearing a crown sort of appendage, and there are two crowns, two horns seen in that crown. And he is sitting in a Padmasana posture, in a yoga posture, a Padmasana posture like this, with his legs crossed, and sitting on a low throne. Okay, Chota sa Sinhasan on a small low throne. He is sitting cross-legged, this deity, and some animals are seen surrounding him. You can see on your screen an elephant. There's an elephant. This is a tiger. There's a rhino, and this is a water buffalo, and two deer appear at his feet. These are two deers. Something has been written on top. We don't know what has been written on top. So looking at this particular deity, John Marshall called this god as Pashupati Mahadeva or Proto Shiva. He called it as Proto Shiva. That is, this god went on to become the later day Shiva, he says. So remember the animals surrounding this particular deity: elephant, tiger, a rhino, and a buffalo. And two deer appear at his feet. So make a story. Make a story like, for example, um, a small elephant was walking by and a tiger pounced upon the elephant, and a rhino came to save that elephant calf, something like that. You make a story so that you can remember that way. You get the link and you can remember. So elephant, tiger, rhino, buffalo, and two deer appear at his feet. So this is the main male god seen on a seal. So on a clay tablet, we have found this deity. Okay. Similarly, where has this been found? The Pashupati Mahadeva seal. It has been found at Mohenjo-daro. So this has been found at Mohenjo-daro. Okay. Now similarly, on a clay tablet, you can see here. I'll open a page. On a clay tablet, again found at Mohenjo-daro, we have the figure of a female. Look here. Imagine this is a clay tablet or a seal. We have the figure of a female. She has her head down. Okay. These are the hands. And between her legs, so as if she's in a Shirshasana posture, where the head is down and the legs are pointing to the sky. So she has her head down and two of her legs are pointing to the sky. And between her legs, through her vagina, through her private part, a plant is seen growing. A plant is seen growing, right? So this particular deity has been given the name Mother Goddess. Mother Goddess. And we find more Mother Goddess seals when compared to Pashupati Mahadeva seals. And on that basis, John Marshall said that probably the society was matriarchal. Because religion always reflects society. So we have found more Mother Goddess seals when compared to the seals of Pashupati Mahadeva. Unfortunately, on Google, I could not find the picture of Mother Goddess the way I had read in the textbooks, right? Where the head of the female is down and two of her legs are pointing to the sky. That picture is not there on the website. So that's why I could not put it. Otherwise, I would have put it. So this is the main female goddess worshipped by the Harappans. This Mother Goddess seal has been found at Mohenjo-daro again, right? This has been found at Mohenjo-daro. And we also see Mother Goddess like this. These are various idols of Mother Goddesses found in various Harappan sites. So you can see here she's wearing a crown. She's wearing many necklaces. She's also wearing a belt around her hips. So this has been called a Mother Goddess, right? Then the Harappans also used to worship male and female sexual organs. Male sexual organ is called phallus, linga, and a female sexual organ, yoni or a ring stone. So they used to worship male and female sexual organs. You can see linga, male sexual organ to the left of your screen, and female sexual organ to the right of your screen. So they used to worship these two. Apart from that, the Harappans used to worship fire. Fire altars have been found. That is Yagnakund, Havanakund, or Homakund, Yagnakund, Harappa, Kalibangan, Lothal. These are the three places, Harappa, Lothal, and Kalibangan. We have found fire altars. You can see here, these are the fire altars found here. So probably they used to make some offerings in these fire altars. Even probably animal sacrifice might have been done. We don't know. So fire altars have been found. Then trees were worshipped by the Harappans, like people tree. People tree was worshipped. And also animals like the bull and the unicorn. Bull and the unicorn. What's a unicorn? Basically, it's a humpless bull. So bull and unicorn. Look here, I'll show you the picture. On your screen, you can see the picture of a bull. Now, how do we know it's a bull? You can see its organ here. It's a bull. And this bull is standing in a side profile. It is standing sideways. And there is no hump behind its back, right? There's no hump behind its back. Now, please understand, I am covering this topic in an extensive manner. When I come to town planning of the Harappans, when I do art and culture, I'll be discussing about the art and culture. I can skip this topic. I can skip Harappan civilization because I'm covering it now only extensively. So I can directly go to the next part of the architecture, that is Mauryan art onwards. I can do Mauryan art. So I'll skip this particular topic when I do art and architecture. Am I there with you? Please raise your hands. So because I'll be covering ancient and then medieval and come to art and culture, right? So I'll be not doing a town planning of the Harappans because I'm covering it here itself and the culture of the Harappans in an extensive manner. So I can save a lot of time there, right? So I'm keeping you informed so that I can save time later. So we'll come back here. So here generally a bull has a hump behind its back, but this is a humpless bull. It doesn't have a hump, as you can see. And since it is standing in a sideway profile, only one horn is seen because the other horn has got superimposed on the one which is facing us, right? So this has been called a unicorn, a humpless bull shown in profile with its horn superimposed on each other. And there is one agarbatti stand, this is called a standard or a manger or an agarbatti stand or a dhoop stand. So this was the most frequently depicted animal on Harappan seals, a unicorn. You can see here, this is called a unicorn. Okay, so Harappans used to worship people, trees like people. They used to worship animals like bull and unicorn. They also used to worship snakes. We have evidence of snake cult. Snake cult comes from Gumla. Gumla has evidence of snake cult. And lastly, no temple-like structure has been found. In any of the Harappan cities, no temple-like structure has been found. This is the religion of the Harappans. And please understand, whatever the Harappans were doing, we are even now doing it. We design our cities like the way the Harappans used to design. Every house has a toilet. Unfortunate that 60% of India defecates in the open now. That's the reason why we are having the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan going on. But it is sad and ironic that our ancestors used to have toilets. Everybody had a toilet in their house and well in their house. They used to use it. And of course, the religious practices of the Harappans are even now followed by us. Shiva is worshipped in the form of linga. We worship Mother Goddess in various forms, Kali, Durga, etc. Then, of course, one more thing is amulets. Harappans used to use amulets. Amulets are, what do you call, meant for security. That is taviz, or taita, right? Taita, it's called in Tamil, and of course, amulets or taviz. So they believed in ghosts and evil spirits. So this is the picture of a taviz or a amulet. So they believed in ghosts and evil spirits. So even now we have the practice of wearing taviz or amulets. Then you see women going around trees trying threads. So tree worship is there. Snake worship is even now there. Bulls are worshipped. We have festivals like Pongal, Bihu, Shankranti, where animals are washed, cattle is washed, and their horns are painted and decorated. They're made to jump over a fire, etc. So that is even now there. So whatever uh, practices were followed by the Harappans are even now followed by us to a large extent. So along with the Chinese civilization, the Indian civilization is considered to be a continuous block of 5,000 years. Many of our traditions, practices, rituals are continuous, are being followed continuously from the last 5,000 years. So along with the Chinese civilization, the Indian civilization is one of the oldest continuous blocks in the world. So I end my class today. I have run out of time. I will meet you on Monday at the same time, and I'll finish this chapter, Indus civilization, and we'll go to Vedic period. Right? So you have any questions to ask? So annotated PPTs of yesterday's class will be shared with you. I will tell the required person to do that. Payal, you have to ask the concerned people. I will not be able to answer that question. Unicorn has one or two horns. Only one horn is seen, Zeba. It has obviously two horns, but as I told you, since it is standing in a sideway profile, only one horn is seen. Stephen, I've already shared the email, vijay.kumar. That's my email address, vijay.kumar@byju's.com. That is the name of the site, given by archaeologist Swarnalata, that 4MSR site. Yeah, that is the right strategy, Divyani. Where great granary, great bath, both are in Mohenjo-daro, Himani. Ivory objects, Sham, ivory is, elephant tusks. They are made of ivory. No, name of the snake cult has been found at Gumla, Payal, at a place called Gumla is the name of a place, Gumla. In this place, we have evidence of Harappans worshipping snake. What is horn? Akshata. Dikshit, yes, tomorrow you have class. Not tomorrow, I think they'll let you know. I think it is only on Monday, as far as my knowledge goes. It's a weekday session, isn't it? Naveen, I told you what is meant by MSR. MSR is the name of the site given by archaeologists at a place called Binjor in Rajasthan. They have given, it's a temporary name. So technical name. Any evidence of sports? Definitely chess. We'll come to that. Harappans must have played chess. We have evidence of they having played chess. Stephen, in Karnataka, do you find any Harappan site? So far, no. Vijay dot Kumar. Vijay dot Kumar. Not Vijay Kumar. It's Vijay dot Kumar. MSR, I don't know the definition, Naveen. You don't need to know the definition. It is called MSR 4 site. Please, what is horn? You have a bull having a horn, a cow having a horn. That's called a horn. Shivaranjani will come to that utensils. So I end my session today. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And tomorrow we have a class. Tomorrow we don't have a class. Do we have a class tomorrow? Huh? They'll let you know tomorrow whether we have a class or not. That will be known to let. They'll let you know. So we will talk about it to next class. Any doubts? I'll answer them in the next session. So all the best. You have a good weekend. We'll meet soon. Good day.